Yo, welcome to Crate 808, and it's the 808th chamber, which is our live stream for our patrons. We have got two just hip-hop content legends out there today in the building, returning guests, both putting out dope rap content for you guys out there. It is Dylan Green over there and SonRaw, both back in the building. Dylan, how are you doing, my man? How are you?
Wagwan, I'm coolin'. How you feeling, Cam? It's really good to be back. It's been a long time. I think the last time we did this was when we did the Ghost album, right? I think.
Ghost album. We've got a Rock Marcy chat with Dylan in the chamber. It's about 2 years old, but it's still going to get out there at some point when life...
Been waiting on it, man.
Yeah, when life can stop throwing me some bricks and I can actually concentrate on getting this down. Absolutely. But SonRaw as well. How are you doing, SonRaw?
Good. Great to be here, man. Thanks for having me again. Just always a pleasure.
Oh, bro, it's always good to have you. People out there, if you're not on the Patreon, first of all, please get on there and support the show. But two, there is a top 36 Ghostface Killer songs. And it is the biggest, probably five-hour marathon pod session, the biggest I've ever done. So, yes, it's one of them where you think... we need to hold on 2 minutes. Oh, what's happening here? Oh God, technology. I'm putting hands up and everything. What's happening here? But yeah, no, that marathon session, do go check that out. SonRaw was bringing the heat with his top ghost cuts. But today it's another big one, probably bigger, I would say. Yes, this ain't rock and roll because the rap is in control. We are talking about our top 5 Tribe Called Quest songs. I know that was cheesy and corny, Dylan. I saw you laughing at that Tribe reference. I
liked it, man. Yeah? I'm not tripping. I liked it.
That's for the heads who dig in a bit deeper and a little signifier on what might be in my top 5, because we are all talking about our top 5 Tribe Called Quest songs. We are live right now with our patrons, but 2 new patrons jumped on this podcast this month. I've just got a big up Dave Waller and Death IRL, which is a really ominous username, but thank you for subscribing. It's great to have you on board. And we are live now. We got Steve Piper. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening to you. Aaron, yo. Looking forward to the impossible task we've set ourselves. I couldn't have put it any better. That's exactly it. And Jack P, evening all as well. So yeah, we are going to go into this. People who are regular listeners will know what I usually end up doing is doing my little trick of putting loads of songs on the table and counting down. I think we did top 5 Tupac was 13, top 5 Biggie was like 10. This one is going to be about 13, 15 songs. And I'm going to go down them to my top 5. And eventually we will see if any of their Dylan's or SonRaw's gets in there as well. But yeah, I think we better kick off though to begin with about just general vibes and stuff. Like, this is Tribe. They are another one for you there. There is a lot that has been said. There has been documented. I'm glad there is some written and just documentation of this incredible musical group. But Dylan, SonRaw, I would like to hear from you guys what you think, where they stand for you, just in your kind of hip-hop history, your own personal histories, your journeys towards Tribe, anything you want to say on them. Dylan, you kick us off, man. How are you feeling on Tribe?
God, man, what do I even say? I grew up listening to so many different kinds of rap, but I didn't really go back to I'm a little younger than most everyone here, so I didn't really get into Tribe for real until I was in high school, and I found the Greatest Hits album, and I heard it and I was like, oh, this is the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life. I was just stuck on everything, and it was around the same time they put Michael Rappaport's documentary came out. So I was just, so it was just the perfect time for me to just do all the deep dives. I was just, I discovered them, and it was it was really just a punch in the chest, just like a red, black, and green Pan-African punch in the chest. It just destroyed me, it was in a good way, I love their music. I love Tribe. I love Tip and Fife's chemistry. I love the production. I love the vibes. I love the Afrocentric nature of it all. I don't even know. I legit don't know what else to say other than I love the Tribe Called Quest. I love the new album. I love, they're just great. They mean a lot to me. I got to meet all of them. I had one of my best friends, Corey, got me an original pressing of Low End Theory, and they all signed it. Like even Jerobi signed it, and he's not on the album. So like I just have that at my crib. But like that was really like one of the coolest moments of my life. And yeah, like when Fife passed, it was really rough. I love Tribe. I could go on forever, but I love Tribe. That's all I got.
Bro, I need to recover from what you just said. Like a little bit, you've got that Low End Theory, one of the best, I would say the best Tribe album, sneak peek into my top 5, but that is the best Tribe album for me. And all of them, and Jerobi on there as well. Oof, bro, I am jealous, but I love it. I love that you have that. You know, someone loves Tribe, has it. That's what I want. That's what I need to hear.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
It's all good, man. It's all good. So, SonRaw, what's your history with Tribe?
Well, I'm not going to type that. I don't have anything signed. I guess when I think about Tribe, I started listening to rap at 14, 15. Like, I mean, really paying more attention to it. So that would have been like 98, 99. So the group would have just broke up or had been in the process of breaking up. And I remember like everyone was saying like how much this was a big deal. The Source announced it, and I was like, okay, I got to check these guys out. But it wasn't like current. They didn't really have like the same buzz they had in 93. So it took me a little bit to get into it. But when I think about Tribe, I really think about like as an adolescent, you're trying to figure out who you are and what's your place in the world and what's your place in the culture. If you're going, if you have place in that. For me. And I just remember thinking that it was really cool because I was listening to a lot of Wu-Tang, a lot of, I guess like Rockefeller and Rough Riders was big at the time. And it was very aggressive, which was the thing that I liked about it. But it also wasn't, it wasn't known as just like a hard rock 24/7. And to be able to see a group that expressed another side of things, but that still like there was no sellout. It wasn't like less hip hop. It was like 100%, but they were expressing like a different range of emotions. That kind of helped, me to think like, okay, I can have my Protect Your Neck days, but I can have like just more positive days, like Steve Biko days or whatever. And like those things are compatible. They're not, especially like at the time on the internet, like there was so much of a commercial underground thing. And like, there's a lot of people that maybe who maybe shouldn't have been telling people like, oh, you can like this, but you can't like that. Like I never got that impression with Tribe. Like everybody fucked with Tribe. Like people that didn't even fuck with rap fucked with Tribe, but then the most hip hop people in the world fuck with them just as much. So that's what really, I guess, resonated with me like when I first encountered them.
The interesting thing you say there is it feels like I'm a little bit the oldest maybe in this room. Fascinating to hear from the younger perspective, especially with Dylan, what you're saying there about like these are golden era standard bearers. They are just that foil you see on the tin. That if you see Tribe, you know that it means more than just the group now, I think. And in that sense, they are like the great bands, groups, just musical groups generally. Beatles, all that. You got to put Tribe in that, in the Woo, that kind of thing. What I love about what you're saying there about they didn't care. I remember seeing the Cypress Hill video, and Ice Cube's in there, and you get the West Coast, and then Q-Tip's in there, and you're like, whoa, what's Tip doing in there? I think people, I don't know if there's other musical art forms that back in the day, maybe house, but like that all different genres of that genre were just so, in the early 90s especially, there was none of that. Maybe it became later, there was Fractures, and it did get a bit more like, oh, that's gangster rap, and I'm more into backpacker rap. But honestly, around 93, 94, from what I could tell from my listening and reading and just, like a sponge taking it all in from over here in England, it felt like, nah, these are all, like Woo and Tribe dropped the same date, and RZA's listening to that, and Tip's listening to that, and that's what got me. Whereas, and Dre is being influenced. So all these, I don't know what you think about like that as I don't know where hip hop stands as a music genre compared to others. Like it felt so ingrained and entwined and like kind of knotted together compared to maybe rock. Look at punk and commercial rock. They just ain't going to be in the same room together, are they? So yeah, I don't know what you guys think of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like, cause like you saying that Midnight Marauders and 36 Chambers came out the same day. Like Q-Tip was doing interviews and talking about how he was listening to The Chronic. Like he loved Dre's The Chronic. And like you look at Tip's legacy in particular, not to like get too far away from the group in general, but like Tip is the person who like he found Meg Thee Stallion. Like he's one of the big reasons that she's where she is now. He like shopped her to record labels and they turned her down because she didn't have enough Instagram followers. Like literally, he did a whole interview about it. It's nuts. Story's crazy. He does the whole thing where he like says her name at the end where it's like, I'm talking about Megan Thee Stallion, and everyone's like, what? Like, but like, you know, like he's just like, he's always been someone who's kind of been like a bridge between different forms of rap music. Like he's always been that. And like, and like, you can tell in the way that he makes his music, you could tell in the way that like Fife did. Well, I mean, like Fife might've been a little more conservative than Tip was, I feel kind of, cause like you can hear it in just like the way he talks about rap. Like he very much prefers a specific kind, but Tip's kind of like all over the place. Like Ali, Shaheed Muhammad's all over the place, you know, like, and like, that's the thing that really, you know, like SonRaw was saying, like, that's really what grabbed me about Tribe too. Like it really just felt like everybody loved them. Like you mentioned the Beatles earlier. A lot of people call them the rap Beatles, and I could see that. Like that's easy, you know, like that's easy to me. But like, yeah, I agree.
No, it's interesting you say that about like how he's the bridge. But even if you just look at it, and I know this has been written about loads, but just so we have this platform to say it on, they birthed a whole genre of bohemian, abstract waves of hip hop.
Like them and De La Soul, basically.
Yeah, them and De La Soul, they're the Natives Chungs movement, really, the Native Chungs movement around that. De La, of course, you cannot sleep on all that. And I love how they come in and out of this kind of my songs. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a lot of De La in here and stuff like that. And I mean, you're talking, just took Kanye, you're talking Fugees, you're talking, you know, all these people and people who've sold loads of records. So their music has, and then they incubated Jay Dilla as well. So you've got like that kind of weird moment in time where you have this next great coming from the gene pool of Tribe and stuff like that as well. Just so I can talk about how much I love them as well. Like I know, sorry, go on, SonRaw. Go. No, sorry.
And right in between that, he somehow finds a way to like be a huge contributor on Mobb Deep's The Infamous, which is like the last thing you think of when you think of a Tribe. You know, Tribe is so sunny and warm and jazzy and analog, and he takes all of those elements. It's not like he flipped his style, but he's just like, yeah, I'm going to give this to Mobb Deep and they're going to do their thing on it. And it's going to be totally different. That's crazy. And, you know, it to me that when I realized that, I was like, wait, what? That didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Drink Away the Pain is just like one of my, I almost put that on my list. I'm not even going to front. I love Drink Away the Pain so much, man. What a great song.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, that reflects another aspect to the multi-dimensional group that they are. They have this mix of, especially when you go back to that early run, you know, that kind of all-time run. That is all-time. Like, we've done it as well with Rob Percy. We did a best 3 album runs. He made an amazing argument for why Tribe Called Quest 3 album run is the best of all time, like let alone the 90s. So that run around that time, there's this mix of highbrow, you know, appealing to people who, you know, are a bit more outside, maybe, you know, a bit more like wavy thinking, like abstract thinking, but lowbrow, completely lowbrow, like puns about semen on couches, sports references, you know, the best love song in rap history, and it's about butts, and you're like, this is, do you know what I mean? Like they do this, and it's I think that is one of the keys that is slept on with Tribe, because it's easy to sleep on it, but because they have that highbrow, lowbrow, and they're not just talking about, they're talking about life, you know, confusing moments in life and amazing moments in life and dark moments in life, and it's universal. And that's the thing. That's why it's truly relatable to someone who may not even, you know, get into hip hop. And not only is it universal that, oh, I understand lyrics, it's not just that message. They make you dance. They make you move. You can't not move to Tribe Called Quest music. So you've got all of that, like all these dimensions they're playing on, and it just rings true to what you guys have just said. So absolutely. I need to just touch on one. You're right. It's very hard to talk about Tribe and, you know, why they're so, you know, incredible. In that 3 album run, I did say, listen to verses from The Abstract. And he says, people seem to bug because the beats are hard and gentle. And that line has always rang true for me on Tribe. That's a perfect way of putting it. They're hard, but gentle. The way they do it, this mix, this alchemy they have, and we all talk about chemistry in that, but that is all there and everyone can read about it. But you know what really gets me? And I realize why I love Tribe, like how much I love them. There's a new film come out this year called Rye Lane. Have you watched Rye Lane, anyone?
No, I haven't.
Right. And I think it might be on Amazon or something now. I'm not sure. It might be streaming somewhere, but it's a British film. And I'm watching it. It's quite funny. It's like, yeah, quite vibrant, really a vibrant thing. It is a very incredible, eclectic. I'm like, yeah, I'm enjoying this. One of the guys is from industry. Yeah, all good. And then one of the main plot lines is them chasing down this girl's copy of a Low End Theory as a plot device. And I was like, whoa. I have been waiting. On Letterboxd, I got a full more star because of it. I was like, yeah, this is incredible. They're using a Low End Theory as a plot device. And I won't throw any spoilers out there, but how I felt when I saw that in the film and it elevated it is that's Tribe's like influence for me, where I'm like, I know how that character feels. If my copy of a Low End Theory was taken by my ex, I'd have to get that back. Either way, that's just out there for the people who have watched Rhime or not. Go out there and watch it. It's great. But yeah, no, we can jump into these moments now. Let me quickly jump into the live stream chat. There are a few people kicking off here. Let's see what we're saying. Aaron, I'm not going to count the love movement. Oh, why? I can see why. I can see why. But from all the albums before, cool. There's only one song I don't really feel. And he said Skypager. We are not going to get on, Aaron, in this conversation. This could go on for a while, but I'm just giving you a spoiler.
I love Skypager.
I fucking love Skypager. How many artists can you say that for? Yeah, 4 albums and just 1 skip. That's big. That is big. I'm racking my brain. I can't think of many. Doom? Maybe Doom, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe for me, MF Doom, maybe.
Doesn't Tribe have 5 albums?
I think he's talking about the run before Love Movement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's talking, yeah.
I didn't really have anything from the 2016 album either. That's
I picked one song from the 2016 album.
That album, and again, what an incredible thing this group have done. At the time I said this, that week I heard it, I was like, wait a minute, this isn't real. This shouldn't happen. This should not happen. An aged rap group, not one, group of them have come back, including Jerobe, and delivered something so, like, it felt important. It just felt important, when it dropped. I don't know what you guys think to that, the 2016 album generally.
I like it. It's very, very good. I haven't really revisited it too much outside of the context of this list. Mm-hmm. But I say that, and one of the songs wound up on my top 5. I'm not going to say which one it is, but like you could tell you could tell they really wanted to do this, and it wasn't just like we need to do this just like you could tell it was important to them, and like just the fact that they it was really dope to see them kind of take a. It was kind of dope to see them look at the people who they so clearly inspired, like Tip literally name dropped Joey, Earl, Kendrick, and Cole on one of the songs, and I was like, yeah, like they're the 4, I like less so Joey than everyone else at this point because he's not bad, but he's just kind of over there. But like, especially compared to the other 3. But like it was just cool to see them in a modern context. Like it sounded so fresh, but so like them, and like the Andre song and Kendrick being on one of the songs. Like it just worked. I don't know. Like they've always had a thing for low end and bass, and like and like the Elton John song. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. We'll be here forever. but yeah.
Sorry, go.
I need to go back to it. Like, I mean, for lots of reasons, some that were like just straight up like life in 2016 at the time, and some that were personal. Like that whole period of my life was just like super dark. So like there's no music I barely go back to anything that dropped in 2016 from anybody. But I remember really liking it, but it was just like my head wasn't in the game. Like Q4 of 2016. My mind was on funerals that at that point. So it was like I wasn't in the mind state to really appreciate A Tribe Called Quest, especially because like Fife passed. Yeah. So it just made me think of people passing even more. So I just couldn't really. I think like all I listened to was like Danny Brown's Atrocity Exhibition for like 6 months straight. Like that was the only album. I love that album. Like Danny
brilliant.
That was my mode at the time. So I would need to go back. But then I was like, for this list, I was like, look, if I'm choosing 5, it's going to be from the first 4 albums anyway, because that's really what I go back to. Even though I love some love movement stuff. Like I love Redman and Nori's guest verses, especially. It's just like
super great.
That's like more of I'm putting it down to Q-Tip, but it could have been Fife as well, especially with Nori. But just bringing in all of hip hop in, and maybe that some of their fan base wouldn't have understood, like say getting Nori, Super Thug era Nori on it, or post War Report Nori on it. But that was Queens, and it made complete sense if you look at it from that perspective. So
no, absolutely. So for me, I still do revisit a lot of the cuts off that album. They're just on my Tribe playlist, so I end up revisiting a lot of them, and I have a few of them I would like to talk about, but we'll get into it, I'm sure. But like, the interesting thing for me is that kind of, let's not sleep on the fact what their initial run, like this is what Aaron's saying, that initial run, you drop, just think about trajectory, and there are I could probably count on one hand how many people have done this, where you drop a kind of name-making first album that is like one of probably the most acclaimed albums they had, Five Mics in the Source, first ever album to get 5 mics, where 5 mics was a thing, like a real thing, a tangible thing.
Yeah.
And so the hardest follow-up you could do for a group, really. And then they revamp it with what I would say is a better album, a classic, and just Sophomore Slump in the mud. Don't need any of that. And then they define the era pretty much with their third album, where you're like, that's pretty, the legacy is crazy. But I'm just saying, this is then 2016 later, all them years later, to then bring an album that I'm still listening to. Yeah, very rare, as what I'm thinking. But so Aaron's got that. Oz, yo, everyone. Evening, everyone. Good to see Cam. Oh, thank you, bro. And the family is keeping well. Thank you, my man. Big up Dylan and SonRaw. There you go. You got some love there. Aaron, I was 12 and 13 when they came out, and I was the only white kid listening to hip hop, and I used to get grief for this, but Tribe were the group I used to prove that hip hop was for everybody. And it's true. It's absolutely true. Yeah, that's so true. 2016 was a big year for grime, says Oz. Yeah, well, SonRaw, you know Skepta. Was he got?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, grime fits in with that Danny Brown thing. That was not that fit in with the mood at the time. Yeah,
yeah, fair.
Because that was the year Konnichiwa came out, right? 2016.
I think so.
Yeah, man. That Number song, that on the one with Pharrell, that shit was, I was playing that all the time at that point.
Look at that
crazy song.
Pharrell, he's even said it. I've seen documentaries where he's saying, "We are all their sons." You know, Tribe, we are their sons. Yeah. That's Pharrell saying that. You're like, yeah, you're right. And then you think, like, you know, you listen to Q-Tip now, and I love the voice, but how can someone be so nasal, right, yet be so fucking cool? Like, I don't know anyone in life who's nasal but cool. Two things that shouldn't really work, but they do so well. It's amazing.
I was going to say, like, relating to Pharrell, I don't know if anyone remembers that 106 in Park appearance where they ask him who his favorite producer is, and he says JD is in like Dilla, and they're really thinking Jermaine Dupri for a second, and he goes, no, JD, he did a bunch of Tribe, he did all these things. I'm like, they're just looking at him like, we have no idea who you're talking about.
That's amazing. That is amazing. But yeah, no, this is what I'm talking about. Their tendrils are everywhere, aren't they? And one place, before we get into the songs, there is another thing. I remember what I was reading recently that, I forgot that there was supposed to be like this collab project with Outkast. And that is like two supernova universes. You know, you see you see the space things and the two galaxies that are kind of like colliding. That would have been.
But they eat each other, yeah.
Yeah. I just can't even fathom what that would have sounded like. But I've got a feeling it would have been great. But yeah, what are we doing here? It's what ifs, isn't it?
Humanity doesn't deserve that. Like it's too good, too perfect. We wouldn't be able to. It'd be like when they open the Ark of the Covenant and their faces. We wouldn't be able to handle that. Like it's too perfect.
Yeah.
Like the expectations are like. Yeah. You know, like there's like whatever Frank Ocean's next album is, and then like Tribe and Outkast is like all the way up there type shit. Like,
yeah,
I couldn't handle it. Like,
I don't know what I would want to hear more, like Andre and Tip going really deep, or like the Big Boy and Fife just like spitting game song. Like both of those options are perfect.
Yeah, and they should just do them throughout the whole thing. Oh my god, yeah, absolutely. Oh god, yeah, imagine it. I was thinking. Another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, because I heard it on a podcast this week. So I was just listening to what other people have said about Tribe, because I was like, yeah. And then, you know, everyone's got some really eloquent ways of putting like their music, more, you know, better language than I could use. And then I heard, this is more of an American sports thing, so I'm not sure if you guys can clue me up on this. I may have the wrong idea here, but it was someone compared Tip and Fife to Patrick Ewing and John Stockton. And I've never heard that before, and I can't get it out of my head. And I'm like, wait, isn't John Stockton's like, for us in the football world, in the soccer world, it's like the boring Andreas Iniesta. And I thought John Stockton was creative, but he felt boring. Neither of these are boring. But I don't know I just had to throw it and see if any US peeps or people on that side of the water might know a bit more than I do, or if there's a better comparison. I don't know.
Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, I'm definitely more familiar with Ewing than I am with Stockton, so I honestly can't speak on it.
Oh, right, fair.
I think you can only compare Fife to Muggsy Bogues because he did it himself.
Yeah. There we go. And that's what I like. The connections. We're all connected. I love that, SonRaw. Brilliant. What else we got going on here? We got it from here. It's a really great album, says Jack P, and so much fun. And none of it got anywhere near my list. Yeah, I know. Well, talking of lists, let's do this then. People in the live stream, drop your fives when I get to 5. We've done this before, but when I get to my number 5, drop your 5s, and then we'll all battle it out and have a little chat. Oh, there's a subcategory here. I don't think I actually informed you guys, but let's try to see if we can tackle it. This all started because we were talking about 100 songs to play an alien to teach it hip hop, not 190s rap songs. And then we decided to add another caveat, which is it's one per artist. So then I was like, well, that means I have to list all my favorite Tribe Called Quest songs. And then we got here. So if you think there is a Tribe Called Quest song that is the best song to play to an alien to teach it hip hop in the 90s, let's see if we can pick that out. My number 1, I feel, is that, but we'll get there. But just that little category in there as well. And peeps in the chat as well, drop yours as we go along as well. So let's get this started then. Let's get it started. I'm going to start at 15, but I will whiz through these because I have a 37 track list, so it's ridiculous. But the ones that just didn't get on, number 16 is Can I Kick It from 1990. So I'm not going to talk about that, but that's there. So if anyone's going to be like, oh, why, you're not using it, it's obvious, whatever. But it's there. That's number 16. Number 15 for me, 1993, Midnight. I went with Midnight from Midnight Marauders. Such an odd, swampy beat, which almost has this kind of drunken feel to it, which then lends itself to the storytelling where I don't live in New York. I've visited it only a few times, but in my mind, I've visited it millions of times through hip hop. But that feels like a real slice of like just, yeah, this is what New York probably is like. So I've got Midnight at 15. Did it squeeze into anyone's top 5 or considering for their top 5? Any of you guys?
It was an honorable mention for me. Like it was like one of 3. But like I've lived the story in that song like dozens of times. Like, like from, I don't even know, man. Like I always think about him just saying like head into the local bodega to wolf down a hero. Like I can't tell you how many times I've done that. I feel like I've done that at least like 5-6 times this year already. Like if not more. Like, yeah, the song's great. I love the beat. It feels very, it's like a humid summer night type of beat, like with like a tiny bit of breeze, but like it's like hot and muggy and you're just looking for the next move. Like it's
yeah,
primo.
Yeah. Love that.
I think the mood that you're bringing up on it, like that comes back in 2 of my picks, but not that specific song, but like those like kind of darker tribe songs that still have the warmth to it or like a really special chamber. And like, yeah, 2 of my picks kind of touch on that and we'll get to them later.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
I love it when they go that way sometimes. Oh, it's so good, isn't it? It's just so good contrast in an album like Midnight Marauders as well. Like the way it's there, Only God Lives Through didn't make any of these on that I'm going to talk about today, but that's another one where you go like, whoa, what is happening here? But I love it. Really trippy out at times as well. But yeah, I think it was Alaska Adams who also said it's in his top 5, and I just had to shout out Alaska because I was like, yes, I'm glad it's in someone's top 5 because it deserves to be. And it's just an amazing story. Right up there with what you talk about, with Ghost and Ray and Jay-Z, Wu-Tang generally. And I'm like, yeah, Tribe did it as well. But just on different way of doing it. And a killer Midnight Run reference. I watched Midnight Run again last month and I haven't seen it in about 20 years. And I was like, oh yeah, De Niro was good at comedy. And then I hear this song again. Yeah. Any Midnight Run fans out there, hit me up. But yeah, so that's my number 15. We're gonna keep this moving. Let's just see if anyone is saying anything to Midnight in the chat. Oz, Andres Iniesta is not boring, Cam. I know, he is in my all-time 11 footballers. He's the opposite, but I'm saying John Stockton is the boring Andreas Iniesta. We're going to go down rabbit holes here. I already know we are. And I feel like John Stockton is a bit of a prick. I don't know. I've heard some things about him recently where I think he's a bit of a prick, like Karl Malone, right? I don't know. These guys, again, I'm not fully in that world, but I've just heard these things coming at me. So no, he's not.
Karl Malone's an asshole. I'll confirm that for you. He's an asshole.
Boom. There we go. So Malone and Stockton, both dickheads. Unbelievable. Oh, this is what was Utah Jazz in the mud. But yeah, and also, just as a fun fact, I call Iniesta Ian Esther when I'm walking around just talking about him, just because that's how close I am to him. I can make up his own name. Aaron, I can do 4 songs, but then I have to have 10 joint number 5s. That's essentially what I've done, I think, Aaron. I think what you cut onto is my recipe, which is just add loads at number 5. Some of these guys had more integrity than I did and didn't do that, and I've done this wrong roundabout way. But let's go to number 14 then, and a fan favourite, but for sometimes the obvious one should be up there. I've got a Ward Tour from 1993.
Yeah.
Anyone's 5. Did a Ward Tour make anyone's 5?
No, actually.
Nearly. I mean, I love that song. It's just I decide. When it came to like my Midnight Marauder picks, like I know you mentioned Low End Theory. I'm like the Midnight Marauder stan right now. That's my personal favorite. Mm-hmm. And I had so much trouble choosing them. Like it's probably worth noting the 5 that I'm naming, they're more chronological than this one's better than that one. They're all like kind of 1A, 1B, 1C.
I see.
And so on. But Award Tour is just, I regret not being able to experience that live with the full group. I caught De La Soul like 3 times, but I've never, just because of the vagaries of touring, I never caught a full Tribe set, but I would have lost my shit to that live because it's such an amazing song.
Dylan, what your feelings on Award Tour?
I mean, that's like when I made my list, I had to tell myself like, all right, you can't really try not to do singles if you can help it. Yeah. And it's funny because I have one single on here, but I seen video of Q-Tip, and I think like Kanye perform it at like Brooklyn Hip Hop Fest, like must have been like 10 years ago at this point. It always goes up live whenever somebody plays it at a show. It always goes up. Oh shit, I just remembered something. I actually got the chance to see Tribe when they toured with Kanye on the Yeezus tour at not Barclays. It was at Madison Square Garden.
Right.
I cried the whole time. Like, I don't know what else to say, man. Like, they brought out Busta, they did Scenario. It was everything you could have wanted. And I think they did a Ward Tour. It goes up every time. It's like nice and sunny, super funny, super smart, like just the whole package type shit. Like you can't go wrong.
Probably the most accessible song. Maybe it was successful. I'm not sure. I think as a single, it went quite high in the charts compared to their other ones, I'm sure. Yeah. But yeah, the reason I've got it in here as well is just sometimes you need these kind of songs, and I feel it more as I get older, where you get, you know what? Not only is this just pure fun, but this is a real pure celebration of the artistry of the artist, and they're celebrating, and that hits me harder nowadays. And I've had top 5s. We've done a few of these, and I think I've got some with Biggie, like with Hypnotize. Like, that's just a celebration of who that person is and who they are and of their sound. Yeah. And that's what Award Tour is for me. That's where it sits in that space for me, where, yes, this is them going global into a wider world and showing how hip hop, which is one of the best things about someone like Tribe and generally some of the greats in the genre, is we won't bend to commercial whims. We're going to let the labels and commercial side come to us. Can I Kick It? You can say, was very over here. It was everywhere as a kid. But Award Tour feels like it's more their kind of finessed sound. Like, they are just swaggering at this point. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, they know what they're doing. They know their way around a recording studio. They can do this, and I think that's what I always get from this song. And do you know what? I just I love the lyrics. Like, just standard bearers of classic hip hop is something I just say and like do that. That comes out a lot. Yeah. I'm ludicrously speedy or infectious with the slow-mo. it used to be just a thing I'd say. Just doesn't make any sense to me, but it's always like an adage to live your life by, and describing something that's really hard to describe in a few words. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. But like, yeah, that's where I'm at. And just as an aside, I have a 6-year-old and I am trying to get them into this way of thinking. And Tribe has been on for the last month in the car. It's getting nice hot weather, so we're driving to take him to football, driving out in the fields, countryside, and I've been trying to get him to do something with me. And the other day, I didn't even ask. I just driving, and he went, "You on point, Dad?" He just said, "You on point, Dad?" And I almost swerved.
That's so good.
And I was like, yes, all the time. And I almost had to swerve. And I thought, hopefully it's seeping, it's dripping down, and he's going to get some of this as well. But a war tour is just filled with those. And yeah.
Well, that's an interesting point too, because like there's so many, I know like multiple dads who like they want to keep playing hip hop, but they got like young kids, and Tribe becomes like a go-to, group. And shout out my homie Steph. I just visited him in Thailand, and I saw him and his sons. And like, yeah, all he plays for his kids is like Tribe and Daft Punk, because like the kids like it, but he can still get with it. And I'm curious to see how that's going to impact the kids as they grow up too, because it's such a positive experience without like being corny or anything.
Right. Same. I agree. Like I was actually looking through Midnight Marauders again last night, and I realized that like there's only 2 songs that are explicit on that whole album. I didn't realize that until about 2-3 years ago. Like I was re-listening to it again. Cause like, I think for me, I'm the person who switches between Low End Theory and Midnight Marauders. Like it depends on the season. Like one of them 2 is going to be my favorite, but like, like there's only 2 songs on it that have curses on them. And like, I never even noticed it, like that's how it works when like you don't even notice. Like they didn't even try, they just did that, and it just works. So like it's so natural and organic, and like kids love Tribe. Like like I like people who are like younger than me, I talk to them about it sometimes, and they're like starting to get up on it, and it's like like it's just one of those like universal things that like everyone can find themselves in a Tribe song. That's the beautiful thing about it.
Absolutely. Beautifully well put. Exactly. That's it. Do not sleep on that. Some of the best dad rap to play is Native Tongues. Absolutely. Just 2 more things on a war tour. Them drums are ridiculous, by the way. And I heard that Tip was talking about he sampled Jade's Don't Walk Away. I was like, what? No, he didn't. And I was like, where's Don't Walk Away in this? And that years later, years and years later, I was like, did he? Oh, God, that's crazy. But two things I noticed when I re-listened to it recently for this podcast. What they have brilliantly is balance. I find that word balance in Tribe songs is really good, of that smooth, or another word for smooth, but not subdued, but smooth versus amped and like hyped spectrum, all that. And that's in this award tour has that kind of thing to it. R.I.P. Trugoy as well, and him being on this, and man, that's just the brotherly love between those guys was really real, including the documentary. And just on that tip, Fife as well. There's certain songs that he does this in, but this is definitely one of them. If you listen back to this song, Fife feels like he's actually bursting out of the song. Like the way he comes in, buddy all over your face, where you're like, whoa, what? It just feels like he's coming through the speakers. And yeah, I don't know how they mix that, but that's incredible. Before I get to my number 13, let's see what people are saying. Oh God, Jack P. A war tour was my number 6. Okay. We're dealing with the right people here. This is great. Jack P. Steve Piper. It's War Toys was in my honorable mention, says Steve. Jack, Midnight Marauders is one of my favorite albums of all time. It took so much for me to not make it all 5 from that one record. Yeah, which is absolutely fair. And Aaron says, I had the same issue with People's Instinctive Travels. Look at that. 2 different records and yet the same problem. I love that. Absolutely love that. Well, this is going to go out to you then, actually. My number 13. Because my number 13 is Footprints. So, Footprints from Instinctive Travels. I said it at the top of the thing, this ain't rock and roll because the rap is in control. That line as a kid, that is like, yeah, fuck Nirvana. Like, come on, let's do this, And I love Nirvana, but you hear that, you're like, yeah, the rap is in control. And that drum kick is insane, but that whole thing, yeah, absolutely. Footprints, did it get in anyone's 5 or consideration for the 5s?
No.
I mean, I love people's instinctive travels. Like, I find it so crazy that one usually gets relegated to number 3, because like pretty much any other group that would be like the number 1 classic debut that, you know, you never look back, you know, you never consider that something else could beat it. But not that song in particular. I do have one from People's Travels in my list though.
Love that.
Yeah, I had one song from People's Instinctive Travels that was an honorable mention, but I'll mention that later.
Okay. Ooh, I like it. We've got so much to get into. So true. But yeah, on Footprints, if you haven't heard it, it is that kind of, again, another woozy track, but that's just a preempting these absolutely hard drums I've talked about. But it's almost like a lo-fi version of Tribe, which is quite hard to say when they have Bob Power like doing so much of the incredible work in the other records that pierce through still today, you know. And just the lyrics on it is crazy. I know Fife came out before he passed and he was talking about this song and saying like Q-Tip's like pretty much genius like on this song. And it is that kind of knowing lyrics from Tip, where he says something like, I've got it written down here actually, I'd rather go barefooting for prints I'll be putting all over the earth if we can get there first. Now that we're in it, footprints are being printed. And they literally are laying the footprints for hip hop to follow in. And that is really, that kind of just knowingness and confidence and braggadocio in 1990 should be kind of lifted up and celebrated, I feel. Yeah, absolutely.
It felt, I don't know what else to say.
No, that's fine. That's all good.
It's great.
That's all good. Hard but gentle. There you go. This is like Footprints, because you know what as well. This is another thing for Footprints that I love is that Sean P called it his favorite song.
Oh,
and I think Sean P said it in an interview where he's talking about hoodlums and like, you know, fucking street shit and saying this is my favorite Tribe song. And I hear, again, I wasn't outside, I wasn't there at this time in 1990, but I hear these things. That Footprints was a real New Yorker song at that time. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty mad. And yeah, the fact that they got Jesse Jackson on there as well with that kind of hook. And yeah, I just, I don't know. There's something about that makes me dream of that time, even though I wasn't in it, if you know what I mean. So yes, number 13, Footprints. Here we go. Aaron, Footprints came close. Great example of hard but gentle. Boom. There we go. Look at this. We're all aligned. And this is where we get misaligned then, I feel, because I've already had someone chatting this out saying this one should be in there. But I'm going to 1991. No, Low End Theory as well. Number 12 for me is Skypager. Now,
come on.
I don't know. I don't think this is going to be in anyone's top 10 probably, but I don't know if anyone has this in there or in abouts or thoughts on Skypager before I dip into my reasoning.
I just think it's really, it's such a time capsule, because like you could say that it's dated, but to me it's more about like capturing an era. And I mean, I remember the 90s, like, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of kids that had pagers at school, but if you did, it was like, oh shit, he's got a pager. It's like before Motorola's and all that. So it's like, yeah, I mean, obviously it has like a nostalgic side to it now, but like, you know, even thinking about stuff that Tribe isn't necessarily associated with, like the drug dealer culture with like pagers and that, it's like just painting a picture of the environment and stuff. It's cool. And to do it in like maybe more of a positive, creative way and stuff, but, still representing for it is dope.
Yeah, I agree 100% with all of that. And like maybe one of the most underappreciated bass lines in their whole category. Like the bass line on that shit is nuts, man. Yes. Like it just sounds so good. Like, like you know, like Skypager, that was all before my time, but like still it's just like you know, like SonRaw said, it's all about like creating a mood and an atmosphere. And I could feel the importance of a Skypager. You know, he says it at the beginning. Like it's great song. Love it.
Do you know
it's a great intro to Scratch too, with the Q-Tip vocal. Like, do you know the meaning of a
Skypager?
Like, you could really like I was never a great Scratch DJ, but I wanted to be when I heard that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
There you go. This is what I mean. I think with Skypager, I see it a bit differently now as well, because I see it in a way that it is that, what's he say again? Those who don't believe, see you lay behind, got our Skypagers on all the time. That's just phones to me now. And that's what I feel like it is, that extension of where are we with consumerism? I'm not saying they're saying this in the song, but this is how I feel when I hear it now, where I'm like, yeah, this is like a time capsule back to them. But have we really changed that much? This is exactly what we're doing. And what are we using it for? Sex, and just getting ends, like getting to where we need to get to. And I was like, this is exactly what people on apps are now. And, they're not getting off it. I see people, like when Tinder first came out, my mates who were single on it, you don't see them. What is happening? So this is that weird kind of bridge between them two, that 30 years later, do you know what I mean? But I think when he comes in, like, I'm standing on the verge, ready to flex, like all these old school 80s kind of tropes, but they're revamped in this 2 minutes, just 2 minutes long. So even if you don't like it, you don't have to skip it. It's only 2 minutes long. It's pure Tribe. And I would question, actually, I'm going to go on the front foot here a minute. I would really question anyone who's not putting this as a non-skip, because it is such a truly magical and unique bass line. Now, Tribe have got probably some of the best bass lines in hip hop, period, I would say.
And facts.
This is one of the best. Like you said it right there, Dylan. For me, it's one of the. It hits hard now, 20 years later, as it did on that first listen for me. And there aren't many bass-driven tracks that do that for me. And the lyrics are kind of passive to them. It's more that bass for 2 minutes. And on that, one of the reasons I love this is all that I've just said, obviously already, but that crazy drum break that they use to intro the song. Bang, love that as well. And then you have this little journey they take you on, and this is why I love Madlib. This is why I love Knowledge's stuff, and obviously Dilla did this amazingly as well. But when you put a little bit of a journey in a song, and it's not long, but it just means so much to you because you look forward to it, and when it's there, it's like bliss. It's what I used to call womb comfort. It's like you're in the womb, you're the most comfortable you're ever going to be is right there in that sack, just chilling. And that's what these little moments are. And there's when you exit the first verse on Skypager and it goes into this breakdown, and then it comes into the next verse with just bare naked like bass line. That is just one of my favorite journeys in hip hop music generally. And it's Technicolor memories, lads. It's not like, oh yeah, I think it reminds me so much. And a lot of this is nostalgia, but that feeling of joy for hearing something in hip hop for the first time, go to around 49 seconds to 130 on this song and you're done. You're good. Like that little journey. Yeah. So Skypager, number 12. Hopefully I've changed some minds there. I don't know. But before I go into 11, let's see if anyone's got anything to have a go at me about. No, it's just Jack P saying the bass on Skypager was nasty in the best way. There we go. We're all, again, aligned. Number 11 then. Let's get into it. This was top 5 for so long. I don't even know why I've got it at 11. I can't wait to see why this is at number 11. But yes, Steve Biko, Stir It Up, 1993.
That's in my list.
Oh,
We got one.
Let me open the floor to you then, SonRaw. Where is it in your list and why?
It just, obviously you have the intro before with voice that really sets the stage, but just in terms of like an opening rap song on an album with those horns. And to me, I think what really stood out the most to me, I was saying, like when I discovered the group, it was slightly after Tribe had broken up. And there were a lot of groups that I enjoy their stuff that followed in Tribe's footsteps. I'm thinking of like Jurassic 5. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of the really early Black Eyed Peas stuff. I'm thinking of Black Alicious and People Under the Stairs, rest in peace, that is one. Like all of these kind of like Sons of Tribe and Sons of the Native Tongues that came out. But when I listen to Steve Biko, I hear like all those groups trying to make beats like that. And with all due respect, no one did it better than that song. Like it's just chunky, like the drums hit, the horns hit, the bass hits. And like I know a lot of that goes to Bob Power, but like Q-Tip is like this known perfectionist. And I just imagine him trying to get that sound that's like still dirty, still SP 1200, but also, just clean and like everything is well distinguished and it hits. And it's also like one of my favorite Q-Tip and Fife back and forths. They, there's just so many. I mentioned the height of Muggsy Bogues, complexion of a hockey puck. Like I didn't know who Muggsy Bogues was when I heard that line. I had to go school myself on, and I was like, imagine, comparing yourself to like the shortest NBA player, comparing your skin tone to a hockey puck, but making it sound like the biggest flex in the world. Like it takes a lot of confidence and charisma and swagger to be able to like pull off that comparison in a positive light. Like I can imagine someone else dissing him with that line and getting a bunch of laughs. And he just thought of it first and made it into like a celebration of who he was. And like, that's just brilliant. Q-Tip saying like throwing out the wicked like God did the devil, which is like some Old Testament, almost like roots reggae kind of talk, but making it really modern. You're Dead Like Presley is like, other than maybe Fight the Power with Motherfuck Him and John Wayne, just like one of the coldest, like, it's like you're saying, it's like, we're in control, it's not rock and roll and all that. And, just, it's full of those little moments, like when Q-Tip just starts laughing on the track. Yes! It's like, Tips, what's the reason for you laughing? Like, we're talking about Tribe being a group that sparks joy. And like, those are like, all of these to me are just examples of like, it's not like I'm going in, it's like, oh, he's rhyming this multi-syllable with that, or like, it's not a technical, I don't have a technical argument, even though they're both great MCs, but it's more about all those intangible elements of joy and camaraderie and, sampling these like classic grooves, but updating them. It kind of sums up a lot of my favorite Tribe moments to me. That I think that's what Steve Biko is to me. It's just like, it's one of those songs where it's like, if, you mentioned like, what will you play an Alien to describe hip hop? Yes. I don't know if I could sum that in one song, but this might be the song that I would play. Like, this is a Tribe Called Quest for me personally.
Yeah, definitely a manifesto type of track. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like, I just like the one Fife detail that always gets me is when he says he's a Trini born black, like Nia Long's grandmother. Like, just like not Nia Long, like Nia Long's grandmother. Like, it's so specific. Fife was so specific and so pointed, and was like he really had his thumb on the pulse of like culture at that time in a way that like a lot of rappers did, but like he just made it so. Like he just put so much personality into it, and like nobody could deliver that shit like he could. Like he was just like he was lightning in a bottle. Great song. That one almost made my list. That was another honorable mention.
I love that.
It didn't make my list though.
I think like I was gonna say like I think that Fife's like kind of sports and sex and just New York references like I'm not from New York, obviously, but like as a kid that was listening to him, was like, that's what New Yorkers were like in my head. Like he gave me like this baseline understanding what, just having this passion for local sports. And I know it went like beyond like the major teams. He was like, he paid attention to like high school basketball and all that. And yeah, it's a real special vibe. And I don't think he does it much on this song, but like when Fife slips into patois bars too, that just adds an extra. Like I thought about that because you mentioned the Nia Long's grandmother line, but it's just like it just is chef's kiss. It's just like perfect.
Yeah. He doesn't. There are a lot of rappers who have like cited him as like an influence of being of like who were like from the islands or who were like West Indian in some way, and they're like, we look to Fife because he never hid that, like it wasn't something he was ashamed of, like Busta Rhymes used to talk about that a lot. And like, yeah, that shit's dope to me. Like, I love it. Like I'm not West Indian in any way, but I grew up around a lot of West Indians. So like, I always appreciate that too. He's just really unique. There aren't very many people. Like he was kind of one of one in that way. He was like a blueprint type of rapper. There's a lot of sons, but there's only one Fife. Like
I'm gonna dip into Fife a lot in my five because there are songs that are signifiers of Fife. I feel compared to that first album Fife. But yeah, sorry, Son, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it's also that song introduced me to who Steve Biko was.
Yes,
which he wasn't getting. Like, I mean, at least where I was, he wasn't getting like a whole lot of press over here, let alone by the time I got into hip hop. But I, just kind of looking at the back of the CD and being like, who the hell is Steve Biko? And this is before Wikipedia or whatever. And like having to find out. And then eventually you run into, and you're like, oh, okay. South Africa, anti-apartheid movement, all of that. And you realize that it was like, they didn't just name that song randomly.
No,
it was like an important shout out, but they also left it to the listener to discover what that meant. And they weren't like, it could have been easy to just like info dump on people. And so it's like the title, it's one line. And if you get it, you get it. And if you get it later, that's great.
And they use that his name as a hook and bits like that. Stir it up.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah, stir it up with the Bob Marley reference as well. And I love that about this because they're coming in, Linda Boulevard, represent. They're doing all that. And then you're like, oh, where's the Steve Biko thing in this? And it never mattered to me because what I feel now when I listen back to it, especially now more, they do leave it and they are kind of braggadocious, that kind of rhyming, like just fucking flow is amazing on it. And a brilliant Pele reference, fair play to you. But Tip's flow is just just so funky, through this whole thing. But when you listen to it now, and even then, there are these moments in these bars that are really about the deeper issues, and that bit where they're surprisingly dark, because that moment you talk about his laughter, it's amazing when he laughs and he goes, yo, Tip, settle down. What's the reason for your laughter? And then he comes in with, I can't really say, I guess I keep laughing from crying. And then he goes on this kind of amazing journey about so much going on, people killing, people dying, but I don't dwell on that. What's it? I think I let my mind elevate my mental. And thanks for these bars on the Biko instrumental. This is what I mean. Like when he's doing that and it's like, whoa, what? So he's trying to, he gives that little nod to where he's coming from. And that's just more assured artistry. He's just assured. At this point in 1993, that's another reason why I love this song, is the fact that, again, that kind of amazing trippy beat that just lives in your head kind of rent free, like I'm sure, it's always there. But it's kind of shrouded in just confidence. It's just a massive confident banger that, you talk about aliens. If I was saying to an alien, which hip hop song would you set for your morning alarm? The horns on Steve Biko set the tone for your whole 24 hours, man. Like you are like, yeah, this is, and that, let's not sleep on the Tribe sequencing, because they are like, yeah, this is the opener. This is what we go into our classic album with. So yeah, no, love it. And again, that, you know what? I've talked about this before on the GOAT 3 album runs of Tribe. We talked about one thing that Tribe do, which is just brilliant. And once you notice it, it can distract you a little bit, but I'm good with it now. I'm good. But you notice that they love a beat cut, and they were the best at a beat cut. Like rhyming, bang. Going to cut the beat, emphasize the bar, bang, come back in. They do it numerous times, but they do it so well. And it works because it gives that stop-start momentum to a song that keeps you, like you think you're just nodding, you'll stop. Oh, now we're going again, even harder. So on a physical level, it changes your actual moving, your walk and stuff. But I think on this, they do it, but they do it with a that he's just scratching and Tip's flow is not interrupted at all. And he just keeps going. And you're like, yeah, there's something about that feeling that, I know we talked about chemistry earlier, but we'll go into the chemistry of them. But even just the dynamism of what they would do was, right up there. So Steve Biko, there you go for the people who love Steve Biko. Let's see what anyone else is saying. What we got here? A Tribe Called Quest represent. What song? One of my joint fives. Oh, okay. Steve Biko is my number 2, says Jack P. Where was it in your 5 then, SonRaw? Just so we got this.
Like I said, I wrote mine down chronologically. That I didn't really rank them just because that was not something that I like. Honestly, I could have named 5 different songs tomorrow. Yeah. But I made, not that you were, twisting my arm or anything, but I just played like all the albums back to back last week, and I was like, all right, if I have to choose 5, it'll be these ones. Okay. But it was more about getting like a nice spread, a nice selection instead of. Because honestly, it could have all been Midnight Marauders for me too. Because I love it.
Fair. I love the restraint. I love it. Within restrictions, we find freedom sometimes, right? So there you go. Aaron, violence is not our forte. It's like to write, kick rhymes like the skills of Pele. That's what I'm saying. That's the Pele reference, and we all needed a bit of that in 1993. God, that's incredible. Fair play. And RIP Pele. There you go. So let's do this then. Number 10. Might be a bit of a surprise to some people. People who know me know this is not a surprise at all, and they're actually probably surprised why it's so low. But it's the soundtrack to many my barbecues at home, and also reminds me so much of And One mixtapes. I'm going with The Hop 1996. Now,
oh wow,
yes,
that's dope.
I'm not sure. Yeah, has anyone got any feelings on this? Was it anywhere in their radius? The Hop.
No, actually.
I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, okay, right. So let me fly. I'm a peacock right now. I'm going in. Let's do this, Mark Wahlberg, the other guys. Let's do this. This song for me, it's probably one of the, I would say, kind of top 10 songs that transport me back, like straight away to Beats, Rhymes and Life, which is, I would still say, the best album title that the album didn't deliver on. I still love the album, but the album title is so good. Like every one of my mixtapes was just labeled Beats, Rhymes and Life Volume 1, Beats, Rhymes and Life Volume 2. That's just all my mini discs were just labeled that because I loved that. It's just, yeah, it was that close to get a tattoo of it. You know what I mean? So the album, I think, has got so many amazing moments in it. The Uma, Jay Dilla, they're now twisting to that sound. It's 96, so it is a few years later, and in golden era hip hop 90s, that was a long time, to go 3-4 years, but 2 years, even 2 years, of not delivering new music. So they switched it up. I think the references are dated, yes, but the beat will forever remain timeless to me. I think we've got Kato Caitlin, Johnny Carson, Pocahontas, all these kind of things where I'm like, yeah, it's a little bit dated, but it's that, and I'm not sure if Dilla is the producer on this because I think it might be the Uma, but
I just checked and said Rashad Smith actually did this one.
There you go. So there you go.
Ooh.
That woozy, again, I've used that word a few times, but it is that kind of keeping it kind of wavy, I suppose. And it's just, for me, massively ahead of the curve. This song signified what I'd be into 10 years later. At the time, 96, you got, well, you know what you got everywhere. You got, everything's huge at that point. But it's when I got older and I realized, oh, damn, no, this is where I'm at right now in 2006, And the hop is up there. Just the way that beat starts as well. They do this good thing about starting songs. They can start a song well, Tribe, and they are so good at that. But this killer bass line doesn't come in until these beats going dung, da dung, da dung, and then bang. And then I think probably one of the births of why I love xylophones in hip hop so much is because they have a xylophone in this that's just in the background. And this again might be instrumental to why I now have a playlist of flute and xylophone hip hop. I just have that now. But yes, all the themes of Tribe you would love. You got the struggle, poverty, racism, they're speaking on that. But you also have some of Fife's hardest verses, I feel. Quotes all over the place, absolutely. And I think there's a tip line that always sticks with me where it's like, he's commenting on this in 96 and it's tough to break through and say stuff about the music at the time, and he's commenting on rap in 1996 where he says it's really killer, realer than you can imagine, use every source of pain in my range to make it happen, because he's talking about like we don't have to do the killing, this is where I'm talking about, and it's really real, and then you got Maceo on the scratches, and that's that De La Soul love, man. And you're like, yeah, this is still going in 96 where you've got this kind of just coming together. So the hop is in my top 10. I'm going to go to, if anyone is having a go at me, I'm a bit scared to see if anyone has a go at me. No. Aaron says the hop, definitely one of my favorites of that album. It just makes me smile and nod my head. And what more do you need? What more do you need in turbulent times than to just smile and nod your head? So there you go. The hop. Number 9. Oh, this is tough because this should be so much higher when I think about the importance of this song. I've got Jazz We've Got.
Man.
Now, has anybody got Jazz We've Got in their 5 or
no.
want to talk on it?
It might have been the first time where I realized how important bass was to Tribe. I love that song. I love that's one of my favorite instances of Tip and Fife interplay. Like, I haven't listened to it in a while, but like it's a song I just know. If you throw it on, you can throw it on at any time marker. I'm gonna just pick it up and just do the whole thing. But like, yeah, just like my favorite part of that whole song is like Fife at the end, like kind of saying fuck you to the label and just fuck it, or not even fuck you to the label, but just like shouting out all the people who worked on the project. Like, that type of shit's really cool to me. Good ass song. I don't know what else to say. It's a great ass song.
That song has one of my favorite lines that another group used as a scratch hook too, because the Beat Nuts used Q-Tip's "Your Mic and My Mic, Come On Yo, No Equal" on. I think it was their debut EP. I associate that line so much with Beat Nuts now because I played that song so much. But yeah, I mean, it's a classic song. Like, I mean, when you start getting into the low end theory, deep cuts, like I don't, we mentioned Skypager, someone wasn't into that one. But I don't think there's a single song that I wouldn't consider like a valid choice for a top 5 because that album was perfect. And yeah, I mean, it's also, I mean, looking back at that era specifically, there was a lot of people that were flipping jazz and like fusion records specifically, but Q-Tip always had that kind of way of finding like the perfect groove. It was never fussy. It was never like, oh, I'm going to show how much I know jazz and put a solo. And not that that's a bad look because lots of people got away with it. Shout out Guru, rest in peace. Jasmine has that a little bit more and it worked out really well for him. But I always liked how like Tribe was like jazz, but it was still like breakbeat jazz. It was like, let me find the illest part of the jazz record that maybe no one's paying attention to.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you've done that. To be fair, I think I can see the jazz element of this a lot more in his connections between hip hop and jazz in his rhyming. I think in Tip's rhyming, they have that. He almost toys with this song at times through this kind of melodic abstraction in his cadence and what sounds like to me is improvisation. Now, it may not be, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is. And on top of it, you had that contrast with Fife, who at one point rhymes speakers with Massapequa, which always got me. I was like, that is fair play to you there, mate. You're just wild in here. And I love that about it. And I do remember there's a few things about jazz we got. I think about like Pete Rock, like it was not if it's a fully his beat, but I think like he gets shouted out at the end by Tip shouting him out, right? So Pete Rock's got a lot to do with this beat as well. I remember that line. What's he say now about the New Jack Swing line? What's the New Jack Swing line again? Strictly hardcore tracks. Strictly hardcore. Yeah, never
New Jack Swing.
Yeah,
but he had beef with Rex and Effects because of that line.
Yeah. So I think is it Fife's line?
Like even back then, like obviously they were like a current group and they weren't legends and all that, but like imagine the balls on you to beef with Q-Tip of all people. This is not a violent man. Like what are you doing stepping up to him like mad at a bar? Like come on.
I know, absolutely. I think it was at a Naughty by Nature concert, if I remember correctly, that is Tip's line. No. It's Fife's line, but Tip caught the stray. So Tip got punched in the eye. Oh fuck, man, that's so sick. But yeah, no, it's got that history to it. I think like you said, it's classic. Like if you love hip hop, you will love Jazz We've Got. It is timeless. We can say that a lot about these Tribe songs, but I think there's lines in it where it's mission statement. This is 1991. We are delivering on our mission statement. And I don't really mind if it's over your head because the job of the resurrectors is to wake up the dead. Like that line. Oh, any backpacker worth his salt is like, yeah, that is, come on. That's exactly what they're on about. You know, they are going to reach for that, Look of Lucian, like Lucian intro is Sergeant Pepper. The intro to that is Sergeant Pepper. They know what they're doing. They are their confidence and just we are aiming to be the best. We're not aiming to be, we're just here to do it for fun. No. We're here. And if it goes over your head right now, you will catch up to us. And that confidence to be able to do that on something like Jazz We've Got, where the mission statement is there for everyone. The drums, the beat cuts, and I say the drums, that's like the drums, like listen to the drums on Jazz We Got. The beat cuts I've already talked about, they do that on a perfect level. But then to change and I hate the word texture sometimes when it comes to this, but I can't think of another word right now. My vocabulary isn't that good. So the texture of the whole song, the vibe with this hook of a horn, which is just so haunting. Like that, just listen to the horn on Jazz We've Got, and it's like you're going down a foggy, like urban street somewhere where there's just kind of some dark shit happening and you're lamenting. It's a lamenting kind of horn. Like that's exemplifies everything about if you're not inventing jazz rap, fair play, you're at least perfecting it. And that's what Tribe are doing here, I reckon. And big up Gangstar, but people who know Gangstar also know that a lot of their stuff was R&B, a lot of their stuff was funk. yes, they did do like jazz as well, but I do think that Tribe perfect the jazz element of the jazz hip hop scene, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that horn in there sounds like cigar smoke to me.
Yeah,
like it's just like so thick and like rich, like in that way. I love. Yeah, man. I agree.
You know that, man. And a little sample story. I'm not sample snitching here. This has been out for a while. Anyone would know this anyway. But I didn't know the sample. Again, might be the Pete Rock demo that they recreated it from, whatever. But it's sourced from a Quartet concept recorded at Cook County Jail. And I was like, I didn't know that. What? And it's Jimmy McGriff, who I've never really heard of. But like, I think it was on Friday the 13th, they did this concert in a county jail and they took the sample off that and reworked it, which I was like, oh, it even adds even a little bit more character to the song now. So yeah, jazz we've got. It's probably in a lot of people's vibes, and rightly so. Before I move into 8 then, we're almost at the 5. Let's see if anyone has got this. Aaron just comes in with, that's just wrong. And I think you might be saying that jazz is at number 9. And you're right, it probably is. Chop my head off. You're probably right. Jack P, jazz is in my 5. Yes. Stern, firm and young with a laid-back tongue that ain't to succeed and achieve at 21. Oh, my days. What bars. Just fire. You're right, Jack P. Aaron, one of those songs where the delivery perfectly matches the beat and the snare on it is amazing, says Jack. Yeah, just one of the purest songs ever. I like that. Pure. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna use that as well. Cigar smoke and pure. I love that.
Uncut.
Yeah, man. Number 8 then. Let's get into it. This is a production masterclass to this day. It veers into the stuff of dreams for me, and it starts off with a man squealing. So if you think about what I've just said, that first sentence, and then think how it ended it, think about that for a second, and then you're talking about lyrics to go. Now, lyrics to go. Yeah. Anyone got lyrics to go in and around their 5?
I do.
Oh,
yeah, I do.
Yeah. I almost put it in. I chose 2 other ones from Midnight, but I'm glad someone did.
Yes, speak on it, Dylan.
Damn, like maybe one of my favorite Q-Tip beats ever. Like the Minnie Riperton sample is everything to me. Like just like that whole like the fact that I didn't even recognize that it was like a woman singing and like vocalizing in that way, and just like, it's just such like a heads down, we got a mission to do type of song, and Tip and Pfeiffer just like so focused and like, yeah. Like, I think it might be the first time I'd ever heard someone say shitted on a song in that way. And that's like very popular New York slang, like New York, Jersey. Like I'm from Jersey, but like it's the tri-state, like we're all connected in that way. But like that's an iconic song. Like that's like a single that's not a single, like it's like a B-side that might as well be a single. Like it's like one of those to me. It's like a foundational, like I feel like most people who talk about Tribe and don't mention like the big ones like Check the Rhyme or Can I Kick It, like that's the one that's like, oh, this is the not single that you should hear right now. Like Lyrics to Go is just it, like people have named whole projects off of that one song, like it's crazy. Like it's so good.
Yeah. That beat is, I don't even know if the word's ethereal or not, but it is like, it's dreamlike. It's dreamlike. And I love how and this is probably coming from where you got into Tribe to begin with, because in the doc, I believe that they talk about how he sampled Minnie Riperton and stretch that note out that then becomes the whole song. And then you've got someone like Pharrell. That's where Pharrell is saying like, yeah, that's hearing that song, we are all Tip's sons kind of thing. And you're like, it is Lyrics to Go, where you have that just moment of magic. It's just magic on wax, if you know what I mean. And I think that you have the beat, which is, as we said, amazing. But what absolutely comes through today is the way Tip drives forward through this whole song and keeps this real propelling momentum to it, which just changes your mood. Like that song could be lots of different things. It could be subdued. It could be a bit more softer, but it isn't. It's just this kind of driving forward, and it's a really interesting tension or like dynamic they have. And again, the dynamism is right there for you. This is genius level music to me. SonRaw, what are you saying to the Lyrics to Go?
I mean, we're talking about the beat, like you have the vibraphone in the main part, but just the way they loop up that electric guitar at the beginning and on the hook is just like, I just remember like the first time I heard that, I was like, what? Because it's just such a small part, but like they managed to loop it in a way that it keeps having more and more impact. And yeah, I mean, like to place it at the end of the album made a lot of sense for me too, because it's almost like an encore. You just feel like they're there and they're just showing their ass at that point. They're like, yeah, we dropped this classic album and now we're going to give you this. Like, you thought it couldn't get better, but just wait a minute. We got more. We're still cooking. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, you know, there's a few songs that I regretted not quite making my list. That was one of them. It would have been the one that I had for Midnight Marauders, because it's just like Electric Relaxation might have also taken that spot, but you know, Midnight Marauders is too dope.
Yeah, I got you, man. I got you. Absolutely. Yeah, there we go. Lyrics to Go, right up in there. Dylan, did you have it in a spot in your 5, by the way? Just so I know.
Kind of like Raw, I actually just kind of did mine chronologically.
That's all good.
It was hard enough to even just pick like 5 songs. So I was just like, okay, like let me just pick out the 5 that are kind of reaching, that are kind of talking to me at this point in time.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But like if I had to say, it'd probably be somewhere in my top 3. If I had to, like, gun to my head, top 3 song, I think. Or close to it. I don't know. You know, like it's you know, like it changes with the fucking seasons. Like, I don't know.
This is why I love you, bro. You're trying, and it just sometimes got to do it. I love it. I love that. So yeah, lyrics to go. There we go. Let's see what everyone's saying. Oh, Jack P, I've got the lyrics to go in my 5 as well. Steve Piper, lyrics to go is also in my top 5. All my 5 are clearly Cam's nearly runs, says Jack P. I'm so sorry. Like we said, it's not really 5. They're all joint. They're all in there, really, aren't they? Aaron, lyrics to go is easily top 5. Look, wowee. So many great lines, and that mini Repton sample is genius. The beat is so cold, says Jack. You're right. This is what I'm talking about. I'm glad that it's right up there, because again, it was for me back in the day as well. And maybe just one of them things, because when you get to number 7, now we're having trouble here, right? So I said 10 minutes before we logged on, I changed my number 5. And this was my number 5. And I was quickly just resorting things in my head. And I changed about 2 or 3 times. And this was 5. And now it's somehow dropped to 7. I don't know why it is, but it is here. Boom, Kaka Boom. That's how they go. Because this might be Tribe's most underrated song, I would say. And it is Youthful Expression from 1990. Now,
good ass song.
Yeah, it's a dope song.
Let's go. Is anyone what you got to say on Youthful Expression? Is it in anyone's 5 just by chance?
No.
But please speak on it if you have anything to say on it. Or I could do that. Do not worry. I'm absolutely here for that. Don't worry.
You got it, Cam.
Okay, no worries. It's all good. Now, Youthful Expression, it is one of them. I think it's so high because I think it stems from me being a bit of a dickhead as a kid, because I was a bit of a dickhead as a kid where everyone was listening to Tribe and no one was talking about Footsteps or Youthful Expression. So I'm that guy going, yeah, but Rhythm is an incredible song. It is. But you know, I became that guy for a while in my younger years, where I'd be like, yeah, you don't really know Tribe until you've really heard Rhythm, or like, all these kind of deep cuts. And Youthful Expression is just one that's lasted with me after I stopped being a dickhead and realizing everyone has their own, tastes and stuff like that. That Youthful Expression just still is in my playlist, in my kind of top tier. And just there's ways of there's moments in Tip's history for me where he'll he'll just say a little thing and kick into a verse, and it'll always get me. I think it's the song we've already talked about where he's like, then comes in, and there's always moments at that boom kaka boom when he says that. I feel it. I feel that in my soul chakra. Do you know what I mean? Like I travel journeys with that, and there's the crashing cymbals at the front. And you think, oh, I know what kind of song this is going to be. Of course, yes. And then the climate change of it, I've figured it out about 17 seconds in. Not 15, but 17 seconds in. It's soul-shaking. It's a soul-shaking climate change of a track. And then you've got the accordion that comes in. And it's this really volatile, funky mix where There's no handbrake turns in it. It's not really jarring. It's quite mellow as a journey of music, but it's so different. And I just love that. And, you know, I talked about journeys of music. Here is another one for me. And this is probably why it was in my 5. It is pretty much based on 10 seconds of the song. And then I realized, can I really put something in the top 5 if it's just based on 10 seconds? But there is this moment where you're in this journey of the song. It's incredible. And it kind of melts away. It kind of just dissipates away. And there's a piano riff that comes in, which is only about 10 seconds long. It then goes and the song comes back in. And that to me is the most blissful type of hip hop for me. And it wraps up a lot of the stuff I love about Tribe, where you can listen to this stuff for 30 years, which we have been doing, a lot of us, and you still find those moments. And you're like, yeah, that's still, yeah, maybe as a kid, that didn't really matter to me. But now I'm 40 odd years old with a kid, that's how it feels to me. And yeah, that's Youthful Expression right up there for me. And I think it was Blockhead who actually quote tweeted me and put this in his 5 as well. It's like, yes, I have even more respect now for people out there who put it in their 5. But yeah, there we go. I think there's some lines on there. I've got to just come out here because some of these bars are absolutely ridiculous. What's he say? Look at this for ahead of the curve. Body's healthy, mind is wealthy, thoughts they flow. They just propel me to be a native, to be creative, original, whatever, designative, whatever he says. But that, you know, yes, mental health. This is what you need in those days, you know, and when there's gunshots firing off in every music you listen to, and there's Biggie getting his dick sucked on one thing and Big Pun over here jumping on a bed, squeaking forever. Sometimes you need some mental health advice, and Tip and Tribe are there for that. And I love that. And just, what's he say here? But the Obi-Wan Kenobi reference, like, come on. Yeah, just lots and lots of great little bars in there. And yeah, there you go. So, yeah. Youthful Expression.
Even Hirobi comes in with that like little interlude that I feel adds so much to the track too. And like, he obviously didn't, you know, he's like an occasional contributor and everything, but it's like just a couple of words add so much more to the track. And that's one of the cool things about not just Tribe, but maybe that whole era was the group dynamic where it's like not everybody had to have the same amount of verses, the same amount of bars, but everyone could kind of contribute their little thing. And it made for just these great records. And, you know, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I miss old hip hop. There's like so much stuff that I like that's out today, but I do miss that element. And I remember I brought it up when it came to Mock recently, because he's always got Fahim and he's always got Droog on his stuff. And they might not, and like even some other people that are around, and they just drop these little things. And I feel like that makes for a better Mock record. I know some people are like, oh, I just want him and him alone on the record.
Yeah.
But you know, for me, hip hop, it's like having your homies around and like adding in those little contributions, because that's what really makes the vibe to me.
Yeah. Do you know, that rings true in some of these lyrics I'm talking about, though. This is what I loved about the Native Tongues movement, and I still love it now. And it's so easy to just kind of not think about it and be passive about it. But there is this moment of peerdom, of like your peers lifting them up and being there. And I think there is that still in hip hop. But what's he say here? We aim for reaching tribalization, freaks the nation, and massive peers in celebration. That's what they're about. That's exactly what they're about on this song. And again, talking about what the kind of context they live in, where he says, busting caps, finger snaps, I prefer the second for ghetto tracks. And you're like, busting caps or finger snaps? Which one do you prefer? And that kind of thing in these little gems, as well as like having their peers around, man, you can't sleep on that. And I love that about Tribe. And I also always hope I have some sort of youthful expression in the work I do. And that's, again, in the title of the song. So there you go. Youthful Expression, number 7. What we got here? The beat is so cold. Oh, no, Aaron, Youthful Expression is his number... Oh, right. No. Okay, number 2. It's not his number 2, I don't think. Please let me know, Aaron, if it is number 2. Aaron, don't know why that song is just special to me. Oh, it is his number 2. So funky, and I cannot help but just move with it. I love you, mate. I'm so glad you're on Patreon with us. This is great. Oz, we need to get Blockhead on the pod. Yes, we do. You're right. Probably just talk about this song for an hour. Let's do that. But yeah, so yes, absolutely. Now we've had a bit of a love-in, and we've talked about peers and, you know, all being friends. I think this is where I might upset a few people, because my number 6, which should really be in a 5, really, if you think about it, is Electric Relaxation. Now, has anybody else, before I catch a stray or anything, has anybody got Electric Relaxation in their 5s?
I came so close to putting it in, but no, I didn't. Like I said, I really tried super hard. I don't think anybody's gonna guess the single I put on my list.
I
But,
thought that would be in there, Dylan. I honestly thought this
it was
going
close.
Yeah,
it was close, but nah.
Okay.
Yeah, same. I considered it. It's definitely in my top 5 songs where I wondered what the hell the hook was, because until I got Ego Trip's Big Book of Rap Lists, I was like, I was one of those people's like, relax yourself, please, piece of clam. And I was just like, I was there and like, they're abstract enough where I'm like, he could have said that. That could just be slang. But I'm out. And then like I read it and I was like, I couldn't, at that point I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's some
beautiful.
That's some Balloon Mind State shit right there.
I think Ali Shaheed came out actually and said it is settled down, isn't it? Where he goes, I think he was at some place he was even talking about it as well. So yeah, absolutely. And I think
getting rap lyrics wrong way before Rap Gene.
yeah, absolutely. But this was so hard. He doesn't even mumble it. He doesn't even say it properly. But it didn't matter, did it? It didn't matter because the beat is so bewitching. And it's just one of the most bewitching songs I've ever heard, I think. Just the beat alone, where it augments that kind of looped up kind of bass line it has in it. And like in the other song we just talked about, I think there's not even a bass line, it's just a bass kick. And you're like, this is weird. In this one, there's a bass line in it. And I think, I love, but then, the line itself, and it is that kind of, this could be vulgar and like just be a bit more masculine in a time of masculine hip hop, hyper masculinity kind of thing, but it balances it out. Again, balance, it's all there. And they comes in with like, I couldn't drop dimes because you couldn't relate. When you think about that now, there's a lot of anguish in those lines of just unrequited, like kind of love, attraction, like you couldn't relate. I would have dropped these dimes otherwise. But yeah, and what more can you say about electric relaxation? It is just everywhere, isn't it? And I don't know, what did you think, Dylan, to generally the song? Do you have any takes on it or anything like
that? God, maybe some of the best bars of either Tip or Fife's career. I mean, you already said it earlier, the bust off on your couch and you got Siemens Furniture's on there, and fucking I don't know, man. Like they were I have a very weird relationship with rap love songs. There are a lot of rappers who should not be rapping about sex or romance at all. You sound corny, you sound gross, you sound creepy. You got to stop it. But
how you going to talk about Nas like that?
you knew. It's a lot of people, but he's one of them. But like Tip and Fife were always like everything about them being like just them macking. It's just like it's real. For the most part, they have a couple that are a little iffy, but like for the most part, it's like real smooth and real playful and just like, like respectful to a point, like, like a little while into a point. Like they just kind of, once again, we were talking about balance before, like they really got that balance of like, just like being, like being a player, but also being like a little more intimate and a little closer. And like, this song is that, and I'm laughing thinking about it every time. Like the Siemens Furniture line is great, but like the one that always gets me is when he's talking to his when Fife's talking to his lady, and he says, "Let me find that little man from inside the boat." Because like that's such a crazy way to put. Because like I think I had heard like either like a friend or like someone say that to describe what that is. I'm not gonna say it, but like it was like I was like, that is what that is, isn't it? Like it's just like like they just had these ways of making this like regular everyday shit just sound so fly, and like it just works. I love. It's one of their most iconic songs in like the sense of like, it was a single. It was like a huge hit for or maybe not a huge hit in terms of like chart positioning, but like that's like one of like the quintessential Tribe songs that like everyone knows Electric Relaxation. If you've heard the beat, if you don't know any of the words, it's just one of those.
Exactly.
I think it might also be like not one of their most covered songs, but like Freeway had a hit off that Ramsey Lewis sample after that.
Yeah. So did J. Cole.
Yeah. Yes. So did J. Cole. Madlib kind of remade the groove on one of his his Yesterday's New Quintet jazz CDs. So it's like it has that kind of like it even if it's not their biggest single, it went far in the community kind of thing. Like other people like picked up on it and like
absolutely
paid homage.
Yeah, and you mentioned that song you're talking about, Mystic Bounce. That's actually from Madlib Shades of Blue. I only know that because I'm a shameless plug. I just wrote the liner notes for their for Vinyl Me Please's 20th anniversary reissue of Shades of Blue. So it's thank you. But yeah, like Mystic Bounce is. Yeah, I'm not trying to fucking suck my dick too much, but yeah, that was I love that song. So yeah, shout out to that sample. That sample's beautiful.
Yeah,
you said that right as my girl walked by.
This is the kind of show we are.
I'm sorry.
Where the girls disapprovingly walk by.
I just needed you to know why I started cracking up. I was
saying this is exactly what we're at. The partners disapprovingly walk by as they listen to the show. Happens to me all the time, my man. Like, wife is just like, is that what you really talking about? It's like, people seem to like it, so there you go. But this is the highbrow, lowbrow tribe has seeped into this. Sometimes we're highbrow, sometimes we're lowbrow. But again, listen to the lowbrow on this. Like, okay, it could come across really corny, the Seamers line, but it doesn't. It comes across brilliantly and kind of classic, and there's so much quotable bits. But pound the poo tang till it stinks is like, come on, man. Like, did we need that tip? Did we really need that? But
that's hardcore, man.
Yeah, but then you're putting it in this relaxation song where it's fine, because the song is that good. And this is, again, this was actually, just as a tip to the 100 songs for an alien, this was our Tribe song to play to an alien because it was quintessential Tribe. And I do feel like the music was just used on loads of stuff. Like, you'd hear the music everywhere. Like you said, you've heard the beat, but even if you don't know, you've heard the beat. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. Electric Relaxation. There you go. At number 6. That was a 5, but it's at number 6. We're going to go into the 5 now. Let's go. People in the live stream, please drop your 5s. I'll go into my number 5. Let's have a quick look if anybody... Aaron is saying that Youthful Expression was number 2. This is one of my 10 ties for number 5, says Aaron for Relaxation. Just missed out on my 5, says Jack P. Like we said, the Mystic Brew sample is superb. And the whole song gets your head nodding and heart pumping. And yeah, that's exactly what you want, isn't it? That's exactly what we need. Right, so number 5. It's number 2 on my playlist because it just gets me amped. But right now it's number 5. And this is probably Five Dog's starring role where he really went to the next level for me. I think people might know what I'm going to talk about. It is Bugging Out.
That's on my...
yeah.
Okay. So SonRaw's got it on his 5. Dylan, and your 5?
I don't. Not on my 5. Great song, not my 5.
SonRaw, tell us more. Why did it make your 5, Bugging Out?
I mean, you just said it, like, it is 5 stepping up. I am an equal contributor to the group moment, which really redefined the course of what A Tribe Called Quest did. Microphone check 1, 2, what is this? There are very few better opening lines in hip hop. To the point where I do these monthly, they're not battles, they're beat showcases with Loop Sessions, and they've got a London chapter now, so I'm shouting them out for any UK side listeners. And the host Schmings, the shout out Schmings, he's the homie. He starts every event with microphone check 1, 2, what is this? Because that's how you set it off. But there's just so many more amazing lines. I mean, like, I float like gravity makes no sense whatsoever. But it sounds amazing.
Really doesn't make any sense.
That's really not how gravity works.
Right. But he never had a cavity, so
exactly. Such strange things to boast about. That's what I love about this song. You talk about Universal. I've got a lot of cavities, and I can't boast about that. So he already overdid me. I was like, oh yeah, he never had a cavity. He's a 5-foot assassin, some roughneck business, and you're like, this is so weird that. As a person who is, let's be honest, below average height for a male, it's a nice thing to hear someone saying I'm a 5-foot assassin, and the 5-foot freak. And it really helped people like me out a little bit. I was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's fine. We can still be that. Do you know what I mean? And you got a lot of this with I think 5. I think this is probably his GOAT verse. I think this might be my favorite 5 verse. And I'll never, ever forget the Jazz We Got video, because as it kind of ends around I can't remember, like 3 minutes maybe in. It's quite a long time in. And then he just like Five Dog goes, yo, check this out. And then bang, you're going from this black and white video to this massively technicolored, like eyes are popping out, like they've got this stuff in their eyes and they're bugging out. They're literally bugging out. And the visuals are entwined with the actual song for me as a kid, and just thinking, who are these people? And yeah, absolutely. Dylan, anything else you wanted to say about Bugging Out at all?
I'm trying to think. No.
I
mean, like just the fact that, I mean, like, like to echo what y'all said about the song, it's just like, that was really, I mean, like people knew Fife was dangerous, but that's one where it's like, okay, this is like I would say that song did for him what Scenario did for Busta.
Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly,
yes.
That's like, yeah, like it's one of those like show and prove, like this is what I'm doing. Like once again, like iconic opening line, like that's up there with like breaking bread, ribs, $100 bills, and like I typed a text to a cutie I used to see from the International Players Anthem. And I could sit here and do iconic first song lines but yeah, like it's one of those, like that's like one for the history books. Like that's one that's like you could teach a class on that song. You could teach a class, you could run a cipher off, you could just play that and everyone's going to be amped, type shit.
Yeah, that beat is ridiculous. And what's he say? Stars upon stars upon stars is what I have. And you're like, yeah, like, yes. But to be fair, I don't think Five had that many styles. He kind of stuck to his lane quite well. But it just sounds great. And honestly, we talked about bass line. I think a lot of my love is, it's astonishing. Even now when I listen to it, I'm like, oh no, this, like, there's no doubt this is just going to be one of the best songs of all time. Just because it, like you said, you could play it to kids now and it doesn't matter. You're going to move to this because it just has that about it. And, the funny thing is I was listening to, you have like self-deprecation from Fife on here that we talked about. And I was reading something on him, one of his last few interviews, and he's talking about like, what's he saying? I never walked the street thinking it could all be about me, even though deep in my heart it really could be me or whatever. And that line that he comes out with, it made me feel when he talked about him being a lonely child and saying like, when I was a kid, I didn't have many friends because I was kind of on my own, but I think his like twin died at birth or something. And it's that kind of prospective loneliness. Actually, he said it helped him out a lot. He said, I would be on my own in the bathroom, kind of showering and just rhyming on my own because I just had myself. And then when you hear him on something like this, you're like, wow, it's pretty astonishing how you've matched this beat. Like that's a hard thing to do. This beat is so good, that you've actually just put yourself right on top of it and you've ingrained into it. And it's, Bugging Out, man. What a song. What an actual, incredible song.
Yeah, there was another line that I singled out that kind of touches on that because it really, it stuck with me for years when he says like, soar off to another world deep in your mind, but people seem to take that as being unkind. Like I was a real space cadet kid. Like I still kind of, like people say I still am, but like I was not the kid that paid attention in class. I wasn't a troublemaker, but like every report card, they'd be like, yo, your kid is spaced out. Your kid is spaced out. So like to hear someone kind of express how I felt, where I was like, yo, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody and I'm not trying to be mean, but like I am in my own world, which like big surprise. I'm a music fan now and all that. But you hear that expressed like at that time so clearly, like that meant something to me personally. And that was kind of what put this song like over the top to make it in my 5, I guess.
That's amazing. That again, a line that maybe has passed me by that a little bit. And now I'm going to re-listen to that song again and be like, yeah, that's a really interesting way to, again, appeal to that kid in the corner in the classroom, as well as that's the thing about Tribe, right? They appeal to everyone. They are so universal. We talked about it earlier. And you're like, yeah, even the kids who haven't, are like that. Yeah, it's amazing. Fair play, man. I love that. So before we go into, we've got some top 5s coming here. So let's just dig into these so I get to my number 4. So Aaron, my top 4, because I can't pick 5 in any chronological order. Youthful Expression, Description of a Fool. That's a good shout. Great shout.
That one is in my 5.
Hey?
That one's in my 5.
Oh, boom. Right. We got to talk on that. Right. So we got Description of a Fool. Jazz, we've got Lyrics to Go. I'm going to come to you in a minute about that. Description of a Fool. Jack P, mine are God Lives Through, number 1. Oh, what a song. What a song. Steve
That's
Beak.
on mine too.
Oh,
God
my
Lives Through is
days.
one of mine.
This is what God Lives Through is incredible. What else we got here? Lyrics to God Lives Through. Steve Biko, number 3. Lyrics to Go, number 4. Jazz We've Got is number 4, sorry. Bugging Out is number 5. Lyrics to Go is number 3. Fair Play, Jack P. Steve Piper, my top 5 are number 1, Lyrics to Go. Number 2, Check the Rhyme. Number 3, Butter. Number 4,
that almost made my list.
Yeah,
almost so close.
So
that was like I put it in and then cut it. You know.
Oh, okay. I love this. Number 4, Once Again. What a song. Bit of Later Tribe. Love that. And Oh My God at number 5. Jack P, God Lives Through is perfect to me. The beat is incredible. It's just one of the best opening lines ever. There's a million MCs that claim they want some C. I create sounds that make your eyes go numb. Oh, my ears go numb. Sorry, yeah. This is what I'm talking about. What we'll do is I'll go to my 4, 3, and 2, 1. Let's crack on with them, and then we're going to circle back to those. But I'm loving the diversity and variety of these 5s. This is what I'm talking about. There's so many songs that could easily be, and they're in my list there in the top 37 somewhere. They are all in there, but yes, I love that. Let's go to my 4 then, and I'm going to see, we talked about this, and I don't think you either have it because you already talked about it. I have Scenario at 4, and I know you guys, you said you hadn't got it?
No.
I mean, it's not so much that I didn't get it. I just didn't choose it as one of my. I wasn't 100% sure what the format was going to be, but I wasn't going to elect to restate how great Scenario is. Like partially because it's as much of a Leaders of the New School song as anything else,
Absolutely.
and I wanted 5 really tribes. Like already, I felt bad like saying like, oh, I need more Pfeiffer. Oh, I need more Tip. Like adding in like songs that had a lot of outside guests was like that made it like kind of impossible. But yeah, it's Scenario. It's up there with Protect Your Neck, as and the symphony. It's
of course, and I can see absolutely GOAT posse cut all time. I can see exactly that argument. It has been my GOAT posse cut for a long time as well. And it's, again, one of them simple things. Easy, like it becomes simple as time goes by, where it's just the easy and obvious option. But sometimes that is the correct one, isn't it? If you look at just music generally as history. And I think with the reason it got in my 5 Scenario, because it wasn't initially, but I thought it kind of goes back to what we talked about peers. And we talked about chemistry a lot as well, right? And there's summarizations of how this song makes me feel. One being Arsenio Hall, watching them on his show with that massive smile. Go on YouTube, watch their performance. It's incredible. And it's everything. That is exactly the way Arsenio Hall is looking at them performing is the way everyone should really react, with a big fuck off grin on their face. That's essentially what it should be. But the more and more I get older, the more and more you hop back to those times of where now let's say, for that kind of energy and feel is running dry because that's become something else. It's morphed into something else as I've got older. But back in my youth, it was this thing that was, you couldn't bottle. You couldn't bottle this thing up because that's what, older people talk about, where they're like, oh no, to be young. I'm that end of the spectrum now. When I was in it, I kind of knew it because this song, 1, it's an all-time posse cut. 2, it's an all-time closer to a song. To name me better closers to an album. Like this has got to be right up there. 3, it's a landmark statement where it's not just for you as a group. In fact, you're being overshadowed on your own track. Again, probably an argument for not having it in your 5. That tribe kind of to get overshadowed by Busta Rhymes, a supernova of talent on this song, which we'll get into. But for me, it's the collective energy of it all, which is tangible. You listen to this song, even after all these repeated listens of hundreds and hundreds, for me, this makes me feel like I'm at a hip hop show. And I miss that feeling, like of being at a hip hop show and that energy of ciphers, of battling, of that just kind of dark, sweaty, smoked out, smells of beer and weed, and everyone is just in it. You're a mass, you're one body of moving people, right? That's the nucleus of Scenario to me. And it's quite hard to get it on wax, I can imagine. I'm not an artist, but people must have tried it for all these decades later. But they somehow managed this tribe chemistry they have anyway. It's 4K, man. Forget HD. Forget it's 4K crystal clear chemistry, and this is seen through not just the way they bounce off each other, but the numerous ad libs they're putting in there to accentuate someone else's energy, someone else's rhyming. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's more impactful. Like Charlie Brown coming in like that. You know, they're all going, what? And all this, they're all this collective mass of one. And I think this song, you can say all those things that have been said about it, which is amazing, obviously, but that to me hits home harder now as I'm growing older than it probably did even at the time, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that's my big general feeling on why Scenario is in my 5. I don't know if anyone had to riff off that or anything.
Yeah. Number one, I want those like shouted homie ad libs to come back, because like this is gonna be like way off from A Tribe Called Quest, but like I want to hear Drill Kids doing that, because like they already have that energy. Like I live like near a bunch of high schools, so sometimes I'm walking by when school gets out and you just see a bunch of kids like piling on and like having all that energy. It's like, bring that to the booth. It doesn't have to sound perfectly EQ'd. I know it's going to be a little rougher that way, but it's like, just to bring that liveness to a song. I want that to come back, and you know, it'll sound different today because everyone does it their own way or whatever. And number two, I know that he didn't pop off like Busta did for personal reasons or personality reasons, but that Charlie Brown verse on there is like, it doesn't get talked enough enough because like, you know, Busta is gonna like just smoke anybody on that track, but like his voice was so booming on that, and every time I listen to it, like at this point, like what kind of surprises me more and what catches my ear is like him ripping it, because like I'm so used to expecting like how great Tip and Busta are going back to back.
Yeah, like he just like, the word is the herb and I'm deep like Bob Marley is like just so crazy. And to your point about the Drill Kids, I was just at a Babyface Ray show about a month ago in New York. He and V's and Shawnee Bin Laden. I don't know if y'all familiar, but Shawnee Bin Laden's one of my favorite dudes out right now. He's super fucking dope. But yeah, like they had that type of energy like on the stage. He brought like 6 of his people out. Amazing. And it was just like them going back and forth. And I'm like, yeah, like, you know, like bring back gang vocals. Yeah. Bring back 4 people on one song for no reason. Like, I love that type of energy, especially with something that's like as collective minded as drill, you know, like that shit is dope. Do it.
I love that. And I think there's the impact of this song is there for people who love Scenario when they hear that. But I also think there's that, to be fair, I think there's one thing that we should say about Scenario that probably is remiss if we don't, is it probably does work. This is how good the song is. It probably does work better as the ambush at the end of the album. It does. That first time listen of hearing you just come at you, you're never going to get that again. You're going to chase that dragon forever, but it's still amazing. That's what I'm talking about. There's some songs, and I'm trying to think of songs that I heard Ante Up Again the other day, and it didn't feel the same. It didn't feel the same. I don't know why that was. And I was like, why is that? Why is that not feeling the same as it was back then? And Scenario don't really get that as much. It is a bit more dulled or jaded from that first time listen, but that first time listen was so fierce that sun is still burning today. You know, that star is still burning today because it's still so good. But then you talk about Busta as landmark rap. You talked about like gang choruses. This is to blame for a lot of Onyx and shouty choruses. Busta is to blame. Like, this verse has all that in it, as well as, first of all, you've made Oh My God off of this. You've then done, I think, is it God It Runs Through? I don't know. There's a few other tracks.
Because they redid Busta's, or they didn't redo it, but they sampled Busta on God Lives Through. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. They've got that. They've got Nicki Minaj, Dungeon Dragon, all that. I think there's Powerful Impact by Black Moon. All these things. I think even I looked this up on the Who Sampled, I think it was, and Bare Naked Ladies, all the way from Canada, have sampled this.
Hey.
I was like, whoa, what? Chickeny Chocolate, the chocolate chicken? They did this. I didn't know this. And I was like, that is such a weird pull to hear that. And that's on their hit 1 week, by the way, because I hadn't really figured that. I was like, what? There's a lot of like these tentacles have really spread into in music generally. But when you want someone, I suppose, is this the first song where someone talks about like, like, you know, the monster verse from Nicki, it sounds like they're bursting through and just ripping the seams and owning it. Like, I think Busta was one of the first. I'm sure there's probably other songs before this, so forgive me for my amnesia. But
think it's Cool G Rap on the Symphony.
The Symphony, of course. Yes,
The story of the tape breaking and that him keep still rapping and like them not even having enough to record it all.
Love
and
that.
I feel like DMC might have also had a couple of those too. I can't think of any specifically because I'm not a huge I'm not a Run DMC encyclopedia, but I'm pretty sure he had a couple of those.
There you go.
But still, like, but like Busta's is like, it's more iconic than, I feel like that's the word of the day with Tribe. Like, like it definitely makes more of an impression than anybody else's. Like he really like, like he sounds like he's drooling on the mic in like the best possible way. Like it's such a visceral verse. Like it's really like in the thick of it type shit. Like you can't rep, like that's like, like that's on some like you can't like energy isn't created or destroyed type shit. It just like exists and you just like manifest it for a second and then it just goes away. Like I can't even.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is when you watch the video again, because the video was big. I remember that being around a lot. Just the MS-DOS kind of like weird screensaver windows and shit, which is great. But it's funny when you see Busta like that because he's just denim, short dreads, just he's relying on his energy. He's relying
skinny as a rail. Like
skinny. He's relying, that energy still pierces through. You think, Jesus, look where he went. Like with ODB and straight jackets, man. This guy was, right. Fisheye lensed out. Like it's funny when you see the first time he's on that music video, and just could not be contained, man. So yeah, there you go. Scenario. I'm going to go into my number 3 then. We talked about Busta. Let's talk about Busta again then, right? But this is probably one of the best bass lines in music history. I'm talking all genres. Oh my God, 1994. Now, Oh My God is so close and dear to me. Does anybody else have Oh My God in their fives here?
No. I once again, I would have if I didn't give myself that specific rule of no singles.
I feel you.
Yeah, it would have been in there if I had done it. Yes. It's one of my favorites.
I love that. SonRaw?
Yeah, same. I already had 2 Midnight Rotters picks in my list. So
I feel you.
Oh My God, Electric Relaxation, Award Tour, Lyrics to Go. Those were all very, they could have been subbed in, but I decided to go with like slightly more under the radar just to be able to bring them up because I knew those were going to come up in conversation.
Yeah, I feel that. I do. When there's a group conversation, you kind of know someone's got to pick it, right? And I think if we're dipping into why it's in that number 3, it is just that kind of, it's, again, evergreen. You have that, I talk about that bass line. That bass line, right? It's cunning. It's a cunning, wily little bass line, that is, because not a lot of people talk about it. That they love the song and the hook and the beat and the funky diabetic line and all that, which is all absolutely we should talk about that. But there's something about that it's oozing so much funk. You can't help but step to it, no matter what you're doing, right? And I think even is it Tip who talks about a humdinger coming hook, line, and sinker? Yeah, it really is.
Sure, yeah.
It really is that though, isn't it? It really is. And you have that bass line and then you have the horns and you think, this is obscene. What are we doing here? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, you're making backpacker music that's evolved already before backpacker music to a notion of what hip hop can be to the wider outside culture. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're making this when Woo are putting this vital dimension on hip hop, but so are they on that other end of it. And I love that kind of spectrum they're on. And yeah, man, just the lines, like fierce, defiant Fife. Like, he is accepting that he's a funky diabetic. It's sad to hear that line now, knowing what happened to him, and that disease is a killer, man. It really is. And how he comes in with it and makes it kind of his own, accepts it, owns it. And then on top of that, you've got the flammable like hook, which contains the whole history of hip hop. Again, shouty choruses. It is that shouty chorus hip hop in this again. Oh my God. Yeah. And like we talked about before, it's used in every other thing as well. And then and Can't Sleep on Tip on here as well. One of my favorite smoothest Tip lines. He's got a lot of them, hasn't he? But what's he say when he says, I've got it here. Self-summary in 6 words, I've put it. I'm a black intellect but unrefined. Like, I'm a black intellect but unrefined. And that is this abstract ingenuity. And then you've also got on the other side the lowbrow, where it's not even that lowbrow, because fair play to him. I used to have a crush from Dawn from En Vogue. And you're like, yeah, you're right. It gave me a new, like, renowned. I was like, actually, good shout. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But there you go. So it's all there for you, and it's encapsulated in this amazing. This is just Tribe. This is Tribe. I don't know if anyone else wanted to say anything else on Oh My God, SonRaw. Anything more you want to say on it before we jump into anything else? The next number 2.
I think just one quick thing. You mentioned the Wu-Tang album, and this almost feels like it almost feels like the inverse of Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to Fuck With. You know, like it's like got like that kind of energy for me, just considering how much the bass drives that song too. You know, like it's because that's like an underdog sample and like some bass, basically. You know, and like this is just like the really nice sax line, and then just like the bass is just, I don't know, man. It's just it's like my heart beats at that rhythm. Yeah, I don't know what else to like. It's like that, and it's like that and Jersey Club rhythms for me. Like it's like those are the two alternators. Like that's like music to live by. Yeah, you know,
when you say it's your heartbeat, there is a primal feeling to a lot of Tribe music, but oh my God, there is that tribal sense. You know, like back in the cavemen days, they must have had just rhythms that made them move. And I don't know if they had the kind of vocabulary musically to kind of express themselves, but this is what this feels like, because I put Oh My God on now, and my kid in the back who has no, sense of music as a palette and history and context, but he is moving to Oh My God. And I was like, that's it right there. As a baby can do that. There's something primal about that kind of music. And then you wrap it up with all the genius multi-layered sampling they've got on some of this stuff. And the video, the video as well. That's just so iconic to me. We used iconic a few times, haven't we? But that is Buster on top of the boat. Is it a bodega? He's on top, or was it dry cleaners or something? He's like, laundromat.
It's the nuclear cleaners. I'm pretty sure, right?
Amazing.
Or not? I'm pretty sure.
I can't remember which one it is, but it's like, in your home, just in your hood, in your neighborhood, and then there he is doing that. Love it. Absolutely love that. Let me quickly jump into the chat before I get into number 2 and 1. Here we go. There's a million. It's a huge testament to Tribe, how different everyone's top 5s are, says Jack, and how you love all the top 5s. Absolutely, Aaron. Aaron also says Scenario is rap. Oh My God is just awesome and gave birth to one of my favourite remixes, the UK Flavour remix. Yes, I think it is called. The UK Flavour remix of Oh My God. Yes, that fair play to you. I think if the Papes, when the Papes come as well, I think there's a remix of that is absolutely stellar as well. They've got some. Go into their, Glitz and Glamour's another song where you listen to Glitz and Glamour now, that it exemplifies how hard and soft Tribe were before they, really made it big. I think it's on a soundtrack somewhere, but so big up all their low, deep cuts. Absolutely. Number 2, and as we talked before, the predictable choice is sometimes the correct choice. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here, because I would say this is the most perfect harmony in a rap song. And I'm going with Check the Rhyme from 1991.
Nice.
Anybody got Check the Rhyme?
No.
Wow, look, this is good. I'm almost at 1. Your 5s aren't even filled yet. This is amazing. I love this. I love that I can dig into these. I mean, Check the Rhyme. Check the Rhyme for me. I said it's perfect harmony, low end, high end, all there in all versions. Fife with the I don't know. It's Fife. Him saying, I think he said we sounded like Siamese twins in the studio doing that, and we were so in tune, like we could finish each other's sequence off, and that kind of thing. That's what Tribe's about, and I think Check the Rhyme exemplifies that more than most songs. And the sampling is kind of game changing on Check the Rhyme for me. Soft and hard, underground, overground. Again, that balance and harmony. Whilst other kind of songs showcase these insane bass patterns that they have, I think on Check the Rhyme, it's one of the cleanest like spiffy, like Mr. Clean bass line. This one, it ain't about the complex. It's just there. It's there for you, and it's a funky introduction to how nice I am. Again, planting your flag in there, Fife, and coming into his own on the whole album. To be fair, he's coming into his own, I suppose. But I was thinking to myself and thinking about like instrumental, integral songs, and where you go, that's what happened at that point. And I think Check the Rhyme might be the most formative song for Tribe, I think, in their canon. If you just have a look at all the pieces coming together at that time, and then you've got just this probably evergreen slogan that we'll always use for my whole life, which is "You're on point, Tip, all the time, Fife." All the time, Fife. That's quintessential Tribe Called Quest. And I think they even used that once again. I think even on that, they brought it back, that call and response where you're like, oh, snap. I love that they did that. And it's like, choo at the end. It's great. It's absolutely brilliant. So yes, Check the Rhyme for me. Number 2, what do you peeps think to Check the Rhyme before I bump into my number 1?
I mean, just the line back in the days on the Boulevard of Linden, like we're talking about like great opening lines to have like, that and Microphone Check 1, 2, it is. It's like on the same album to have like these multiple like all-time classic like verse openings. It's just like, it's mind-blowing in a way where it's like one of the things I realized over time and just hanging out in studios and stuff is like, you can't really map out magic. You can try, you can prepare, you can create the conditions for it. But like magic that happens in the studio, sometimes you just have to be able to channel it through you if you're an artist. And I have to imagine that's what was happening in those sessions, just because every song was coming out that way. And there's an effortlessness to Tribe, which, like, again, it's talking about not having to do that hyper complicated, hyper technical rhyming, to just be able to talk about your life. But every other bar that you come out with is iconic and captures a moment. That's really what I think about when I think of A Tribe Called Quest. It's just capturing the spirit of an era and of a place that wasn't necessarily being like documented any other way. Like it was hip hop. That's what was capturing these stories in that era.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. People talk a lot about, I know a lot of people who don't like rapping about rap. You know, I like that type of shit. I always have, you know, like I'm unabashedly for rapping about rap. And like that's one of those like that's one of those like exemplar, like this is how you like rap about how nice you are. Like it, you know, Fife literally starts his verse off, here's a funky introduction to how nice I am. You know, we already said that, but like, you know, it's just like that's I don't know, just like the thought of like, you know, like I last long like an Energizer. Fucking if knowledge is the key, show me the lock. You know, like come on, you know, like I don't know. It's just like I feel like the point we're all trying to get at is that it's like Tribe is so regular. You know, like they're like conscious, quote, whatever that means. I have a lot of problems with the term conscious these days because like everyone's conscious. You know, like everyone's reality is different. Like it's but that's a whole other conversation. But like it's very like they're so regular, but they're like, you know, like they see things other people don't. But it's not like it's being held over your head, and it's not like you got to like go in and decipher it, you know, over the course of like 20 years, which is cool. You know, like if you're into that sort of thing, I am. But like, you know, it's also cool to just be able to take something in just as it is and just like have it be like, this is what it means. Here it is. Yeah. You know, like that's, you know, like that's how, you know, like that stuff, you know, like that stuff speaks to people as much as, you know, like unwrapping like a Lupe or Billy Woods bar is, you know, like it's like that stuff's great. Yeah. And like this is once again like, you know, like S tier example of that type of shit.
Yeah. And that stuff has to start somewhere, right? And there have to be standard bearers for that kind of thing. Obviously you have Rakim, you have Big Daddy Kane, you have people like that doing that, but back in the day, MC Shan, all these people. But in 1991, this is where Tribe did that side to them, where this beat is really sparse. When I talk about how clean it is, actually compared to other Tribe beats, it's not as, you know, complex and intertwined. And I'm wondering, is that so they can unveil this dynamic? Is that because Tip was like, do you know what? Fife is killing it right now with these bars. I'm not going to let the beat be I'm not going to let the beat be the thing that kind of might distract someone from him. And I'm going to come in with my kind of, old school, old soul kind of vibe. And he's going to come in with what he is now, which is this kind of just top tier bravado, high pitched live wire shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's where he was coming in. And that, again, this is why I think this is where things fall into place. I reckon this is the song. This is the song. Check the Rhyme is that song where he's like, no, now we're together. This is us as one assured trio rather than Tip taking the front foot every time. And yes, it led to a lot of, fractures down the line. But at this point in 1991, they were putting that landmark down where they were like, no, this is us doing that bravado rap, which is what it's about. And I think that this song kind of just holds that space for me. So that's why it's up there for me, man. And just number 2, Check the Rhyme. Just incredible. Absolutely incredible. So then we get into my number 1. And I really hope, I'm looking here now, Dylan, I've got 1 of your 5. SonRaw, I've got 2 of your 5. I really hope this makes someone else's 5 now, right?
I don't think my last 3 are going to be your number 1 because they're deeper cuts. So if they'd be your number 1, I'd be really surprised.
Okay, then let's do this. This for me is also the song I would play from Tribe to describe to an alien, because before I name it, it is a perfect album opener. Perfect. There is a timeless screw face.
I know what it is.
Where the bass kicks in.
I know what it is.
It's perfection. It's perfect. Excursions from 1991.
There you go. I knew it.
It's incredible. Like, at the time, it was my favorite, and it's just never changed. My Tribe favorite song from a kid has always been one. It's still one now, and I'm wondering if any other artist has that. Like, Tupac doesn't have that. Biggie probably doesn't have that. All these things have changed. Tribe have that for me. I don't know what that says, but that is, I don't know where it is in your, like, was it in honorable mentions? Was it in your 5? Where are we at with it?
So the only reason it didn't make my list, I subbed it out for Buggin Out, was because it didn't have a Fife verse, and I wanted, like, I already have some songs where it's like they're not both rhyming on it, or I needed a quintessential Fife tip song on the list in that spot, so that's why I didn't make it. That's the only reason. No,
that's absolutely a valid one, absolutely. The way I look at it, especially if I'm looking, let's just go with the angle of the aliens. This is why the aliens need to hear it, because this is why it defines. So aliens need to know what perfect album openers are like. There you go, bang. What makes me have a timeless screw face? Bang. Another one is, it's also a perfect example of multi-layered sampling. And I know I'm calling it perfect a lot, but that's because I'm putting it at that point that if you're looking at it and you've never seen it before, this is it. This is the song that is fascinating, how it sounds so traditional and yet also pushes the music forward, which in line goes with the lyrics as well. And Q-Tip's mission statement in this, where he is presenting a more, for me at the time, I'm not sure if generally in hip hop, maybe I missed these things as a kid, but it was such a more widescreen, panoramic view of what the culture was and where it sits in the history of art and culture. And that's why, if you're talking about a song that's got those things, it's also got substance. And the aliens, I feel, would need to know what song lyrics hit you harder and harder and harder every single year you go by. And even now, my mind is blown on the things all go in cycles line.
Yeah.
If you're into your DMT vapes right now, take a hit off your DMT vape, sit there and just do that mantra, things all go in cycles, and you will go on some amazing trips in your mind, because this is what life is. I find that now in every single thing. I've had some chaos in my life in the last month where I'm like, holy shit, like, these things do all go in cycles. I'm listening to Excursions. It's all there. They put it in the context of back in the days when I was a teenager, before I had a status and before I had a pager. They're doing it in that way. They're putting it in that context. And my pops said to me how it reminded him of bebop. I said, don't you know that all go in cycles? The way that Bobby Brown is amping like Michael. That thing, as a kid, I'd never heard anyone ever put music in those words and it was Tip who put it in those words to me, where I was like, of course, everything's the same. Everything becomes the same. And it just regurgitates itself. It's eating its own tail kind of thing. And I just don't know there's many other songs in 90s hip hop, especially for Aliens, that are going to get that as astutely as an impactful as that verse, the way it comes in, right? So yeah, other Alien moments, we talked about beat cuts. This is, again, the beat drop used perfectly. If you diss, it's getting drastic. Bang, comes in like that. I'm all about that. We talked about bass lines. This is one of my favorite bass lines of all time. Not just what it is, but how it's used. Is it Parker on this that they've used on this? I'm not sure if it is.
Oh, I don't remember.
But brilliant bass line as well. And yeah, that's look at this with couplets here. Again, another mission statement for the Aliens to know about. Get in the zone of positivity, not negativity, because we've got to strive for longevity. Those are lofty themes for like that just age like a fine wine, because that's exactly what you've done. This is why I still love this song now. Longevity achieved, mission completed. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, you got the Last Poets in there. You know, what is it? What they're saying, time is running and passing and running. It's this poetic, bohemian style, hippie hip hop, which is just beautiful. So yeah, there we go. Excursions. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted, guys, if you want to lambast me for it, or where you stand on Excursions generally.
It's obviously a classic. And like I said, the only reason it didn't make it on my list was a technicality and trying to have like the right balance. But like also like one of the things that's interesting is listening to that song after listening to a lot of like hip hop from maybe immediately prior to it. So like thinking 88 to like 1990, like Tribe was really one of the groups that helped slow down the rhythms into like the 90 BPMs. Like obviously, like I'm not going to put that all on them, but the album was slower and had, it's called The Low End Theory. It's obviously bass heavy, but that changed kind of the dynamics of hip hop, where you're even looking at other native tongues groups like from the same era, like De La Soul is Dead or Black Sheep, which is a classic album. I absolutely love it. But those were like still operating on that 100 BPM tempo for the singles or for the big cuts. And then maybe you'd have like some slower jams in between that were meant to be like kind of deeper cuts. And like, I always got the impression that you wouldn't have had, like we mentioned Tip listening to The Chronic, but that we wouldn't have had The Chronic in the same way without Low End Theory, because it had that same, I mean, obviously Dre was doing it from the West Coast P-Funk angle, but like that drum and bass interplay where you're leaving a little bit more space for the rapper instead of like cramming in all the samples in there. Or even if you are adding a sample, you're filtering it in a way where you're leaving that space for the vocalist. So yeah, I mean, there's so many awesome things to say about Low End Theory and that song in particular, but it's almost like hip hop growing up, like another stage in its maturity. Like even before then, I'm thinking of Public Enemy being kind of the step before that, and then Tribe, the native tongues coming in and kind of fully realizing their vision after a few albums by Low End Theory, and Excursion is what set that off, and that's kind of what it represents to me.
I love that.
Right. That's so interesting. You mentioned about, just like the general slowing down of BPMs and The Chronic, because like you think about a song like Verses from the Abstract, like you set that to Nothing But a G Thing. Like they're basically the same BPM, like you could literally sub Snoop's verse from Nothing But a G Thing into Verses from the Abstract. And I put money on it. It would fit perfect.
But there's money on it would fit perfect. And Tip aren't listening to each other. It's like there's absolutely they're peers. It's like, oh shit, you're doing what I'm doing. You've got Ron Carter on your single, and you've got whoever on yours, and it's the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, love that. Traversing the hip hop landscape. Absolutely. That's what I love, man. So yeah, so Excursions there. That's my 5, right? Let's go in. Dylan, I've only got 1 of your 5. So please
I
drop
want to
me.
hear Dylan. I'm like, I cannot wait. Like,
yes. Me too.
Hang on. Let me bust my list out. Okay.
Yes. You could drop song by song. We can go turn by turn if you want, because I think SonRaw used to got 3. If you want to do it that way.
All right. So I'll do so for now. So for now, I'll just name my 5 that I chose.
Let's do it. All good.
All right. So once again, I did these like SonRaw in chronological order. So my 5 are What, from the end of Low End Theory. I love what. So I chose What, God Lives Through, Lyrics to Go, Find a Way from Love Movement, and Black Spasmodic from We Got It From Here. Thank you for your service.
What? Yeah. Black Spasmodic? Wow. I thought Space Program was going to be the one.
Space Program was, it was so close. Like it was it was going to be Space Program, Solid Wall of Sound, Melatonin, or Black Spasmodic, and I chose Black Spasmodic.
That is sick.
But to run through these super fast,
100%. Let's do it.
But what is like Tribe to me has always been really. I mean, like Tribe's always, of course, been like very thoughtful, but like they're also like playful at like their core. They're extremely playful, and what is like it's like the textbook definition of playful to me. It's just like Tip just asking questions. Like he did that before Jadakiss did it. Like he's the person who kind of just like the whole song is just questions. Like what's the quest? The player's not willing. What's a pence if you don't have a shilling? What's a lollipop without the good ship? Like my favorite question was always the little what's menage a trois, or that is what is sex if you have three people. That shit. And then we're talking about like beat cuts, like the bit where it's just like what's hip hop if it doesn't have violence. Chill for a minute, Dougie Fresh said silence, and then that 8 beat count. Every time I listen to the song, I do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it comes right in on the 8. It's just so gorgeous, man. Like it's just such a fun. It's really just one of those like lyrical exercise type of songs to me. It's like the beat's really cute and springy, and it's just like it's just fun, man. Like that shit really fills my heart. Like every time I hear it, it's kind of corny and dated, but it's like, but. It's also kind of timeless, like for anybody who knows about who Chris Lighty was, like hearing them be like, what's Chris Lighty if he wasn't such a baby? Like it's like just like cute shit like that. Great song. It's like it's one that when I first heard the album, I think I might have played it like 4 times after I heard it. It's just like one of those for me. That.
It is very springy. Really good shout. Springy is a great way to put that song. Absolutely. SonRaw, what were you saying on what?
I think Dylan just like killed that. I don't think I can add a whole lot more, but I mean, just the one thing that I would shout out is the transition from what into scenario with a what. Yeah. When I make albums and stuff, and you're both going to get some emails from me harassing you soon.
Yes, please go.
I love song transitions. It's like people are like, why do you obsess on that versus like actually the beat that you're making or the rhymes of the MC spinning? I'm like, I don't know. For me, like maybe it's coming from like DJing, which is how I started out in this. But a good song transition just like makes my heart flutter. So that's really what I would add is like that. Perfect transition.
Yeah, no, it really is as well. Really is, absolutely. So we can go into these 5 that we've got, but SonRaw, drop your 5 as well now then, and then that one we can see if we've got any crossover here.
So I mentioned Buggin Out and I mentioned Steve Biko, and the 3 that I didn't have, like 2 of them go together. I said that like I'd cut one out and like I did it, but anyways, I ended up keeping him. So Description of a Fool, which I love that song. And then I had 8 Million Stories.
Oh, that is a deep cut. Yes.
And that one actually goes with my last pick, which is Stressed Out from Beats.
Nice. Nice.
And those last 2, the reason I chose them, they're songs that mean a lot to me personally, because I realized that like it was just impossible for me to say, oh, this song is better than that song. So all of my picks are meaningful to me in a specific way. And so that's basically it. Yeah.
Love that. So let's have a look. There's no actual crossover here then. This is amazing. So Dylan, let's go into a few of yours here then, right? God Lives Through. What a masterpiece that song is. But did break it down. Why is it in your 5?
It's like to me, like all time Tip Fife tag team. Just like the way Fife just goes into his style and like where he's from, and just the whole little passage where he's like, if I don't look good, believe I'm already fucking it up. I'm kind of embarrassed.
No, but again,
But
it's
yeah,
that whole thing. Yeah,
if
holding
my
your
partners
peers up.
don't look good, Malik's don't look good. If Malik don't look good, the Quest don't look good. If the Quest don't look good, the Queens don't look good. But since it's all universal in New York, won't look good. Like that, and just like the whole like him, just you know, like my style is milk. You'd think I was breastfed, and you know, like I kick more game than a crackhead from Hempstead. Like, I'm on Long Island right now, so like I know Hempstead. So like it's like that's like I get that, you know, like it really just, I don't know. I'm big on interplay, especially with groups. You know, like groups don't really work if it's like for the same dude or for the same person, you know, like,
yeah.
So I just like, you know, like Tip and Fife, that's one of the first moments I realized like exactly what each of them brought to the table. You know, like Tip's shit's not his shit's not like reference heavy in the same way.
Yeah.
Not always. Sometimes it is, but like it's always like really subtle. You know, like he's like a lot more subtle. Fife is more just like going for the jugular in the way that he does it, you know, but it's funny because like God Lives Through is one of Tip's most like cutting verses. It's definitely one of his more aggressive, feels wrong, but like it's definitely one of his more like, maybe I'm gonna try to get a little of what Fife had. And there, you know, like they kind of challenge themselves to be to come at it a little different. And like, you know, like the beat just sounds like the beat sounds like what gravel looks like to me. It's kind of like grayscale-ish and like a little purple, you know, and like it just kind of moves and seethes, and not seethes, but it just like rumbles. I don't know. I like it. It's one. I don't think I have a personal connection with it. Like I don't have like a story off it, but like it's just one that I listen to a lot, and it's one that I'll just like rhyme shit to myself. You know, like every once in a while, I'll just have a moment where I just like run through my favorite Tribe songs, and I just like that's one that I always come back to. You know, I just love that. Like because it was either going to be that or the Chase Part 2. And I couldn't pick one of them. Like the Chase Part 2 is just the same. I could say same thing there, man. Like, and going back to the documentary, like the documentary, I don't know if y'all remember, but it ends on Tip and Fife rehearsing to perform the Chase Part 2, and the two of them like doing this choreography and just a little I'm bounced to American party gets to turn the party out, and they're doing this like cute little dance together. It's great, man. It's like that's so like those I'm big on when Fife and Tip really play into their differences and even kind of switch it up a little bit. So that's why God Lives Through is on there for me.
Love that. I think there's a moment in that doc, I think it's where Buster's like talk about how he cries when he hears that song. Like, he said it's his favorite.
It's one
song.
of those, man.
Yeah, and and maybe it is obviously the title of the song as well, but there's a lot of spirituality in that, man. Like I don't know, it feels like a bit more of a spiritual Tribe song as well to me. I don't know, it's got that feeling of just like, I don't know what it is, but yeah, man, that is some guitar strums on that. Oh, yeah, unbelievable. SonRaw, any moments on God Lives Through before we jump into your next one on your 5 I would like to talk about?
No, y'all guys killed it. I'm not gonna add to that.
So do you know what I want to hear? Description of a Fool. Why is that in your 5? Why is that in your 5 song?
I think the reason I originally started listening to it so much is going to sound really weird, but there's an open break beat with static at the end of the track after his verse. And I just remember like just pulling back the vinyl and wanting to hear that again and again and again. But I think it stayed with me because it's a kind of song you can only really write when you're like 19 or 20 or like a young adult. Because if an adult had written like an anti-drug dealer screed, like as a first verse, it would be like very Fox News, very Bill O'Reilly, very like disconnected. But when you're like a young adult, you think you know how the world works, and you like if you have any sort of empathy, you can get really angry at how fucked up it is. And he managed to put that down in a way that was like there's almost a reggae side of righteous anger to it. But you can, it's not like it works in a way that doesn't feel like it's judgy, but it's like righteously judgy, but it's also, it's very young adultish. And I feel that it's still relevant because I was re-listening to it before doing this show. And I was like, this is how a lot of people tweet today. This is like a lot like this song, like, and I mean, like nice. The song is much better than a tweet, but you get a lot of people that like you're putting out your feelings about how fucked up the world is. You know, like the first verse is about a crack dealer, which is like something that was like very much in the conversation in 1990. But like on one hand, you're getting like mainstream media that are just completely misreporting and not looking at the root causes and the social conditions and the racism that's like causing the situation. Or you might have like a lot of rap songs that are like glorifying stuff, you know, which is fine. We enjoy all kinds of rap music, but to have like Q-Tip come out and say what he had to say, I just don't feel there's too many other songs that capture that. Like maybe some Public Enemy songs, but Chuck was coming at it from more of a mature perspective. And this is really like someone who's walking out and who's seeing all this fucked up shit and who's like, I have to get this out. And then the same thing when it comes to just an abusive relationship, or the same thing when it comes to just kind of someone like getting in a fight over just feeling disrespected. These were all things that he saw. And to write like kind of this beautiful song about it that shouldn't work, but it does. That's really why it made my top 5. It was, I just don't think too many people could write songs like that. And I don't think he could have written that exact song at a later point in his career either. It's really capturing that like young adult moment.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And like speaking of Public Enemy, like like you compare that to a song like Night of the Living Bassheads, and it's like a completely different vibe, you know, like you can just tell, you can tell the age difference between the two of them there.
Yeah. And looking at it like from almost a Panther perspective, like, yo, this is fucked up. And these are many of the causes that have led to this situation. Whereas Q-Tip is like looking at a drug dealer like, man, just fucking stop it. Yeah. Like, it's and those are both valid perspectives, you know.
Right. Yeah.
People are going to feel like, just fucking, why are you out here, man? Like, why are you doing?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then on top of that, you look at like obviously like Fear of a Black Planet I think Fear of a Black Planet and People's Instinctive Travels were like kind of the last of their kind in terms of like production because of the whole sample clearance thing. And like the Biz Markie thing happened, the De La Soul thing happened, and then like it became like extremely hard and difficult to sample in like that way. And you're like the description of a Fool beat has that like it has like an almost like sample-delic kind of like vibe to it that's like very sample collages. Like I can imagine there's at least 5 or 6 different samples, at least 5 or 6 different samples in that song. It sounds so busy in a really cool way, you know, like it's like it's one of my favorite Tribe beats ever. You know, it's one of the ones where I found it and I listened to it over and over and over and over again. And then on top of that, the bass line that Tip sampled for that song was used on this dude from DC named Sideshow. He just put out a really dope project called 2MM. 2MM Don't Just Stand There. And I think it's on the song of Valet. Yeah, the song 2MM. Whoever produced the song uses the same bass sample from Description of a Fool.
Damn.
So yeah.
What a pull.
It's just crazy.
What a wicked pull. Fair play. See what I mean? Things all go in cycles. It's still happening. I love this. That's
exactly.
it. Absolutely. Yeah. I know. Amazing breakdown of that song. And I don't want to be reductive, but just the words they use of big galoot and nincompoop is like, come on. I know we have all the amazing things as well, but you do have that. And actually, it does remind me of a story I said on the 3-album run of the Tribe. And it was around that time I was listening to this song loud, and I'd misplaced the mayo in the kitchen, which is nothing that you should do lightly in our house. And we were having stressed out time trying to find it. And I opened the cupboard and it was there. And just as I found it, Tip was like, big galoot nincompoop came out blazing for the speakers at the same time. Wife could not stop creasing up.
Very pre-Doom use of words too. Very pre-Doom words.
Very Doom words. This one, you know, but they had this a lot. They had a few different words in there. Like, oh, why are you using that word? But yeah, love that. So we've got Dylan, What God Lives Through, lyrics to go, Find a Way. Find a Way. I think probably the most. Oh no, apart from Black Spasmodic. Yeah, let's hear about Find a Way. Come on, let's drop it down for me. Why is that up in there?
Damn. So Find a Way is like, you know, it's kind of like, I don't want to call it an evolution, but it's very much like in the vein of something like Bonita Applebum, you know, but like, I just, you know, like once again, it's like very playful and intimate and very just like, come on, like, let's chill and have some fun and just like enjoy each other's company. If you want that, you know, like it's it's just a vibe, man. Like it just sounds like a summer fling to me. Like that song, like that just sounds like that type of, it's got that type of energy, and the beat's beautiful. Like it's great. Like I don't, like once again, like they're kind of playing hot potato with the mic, and like I love that dynamic. Like there's nothing like specific about it that I could really explain. It's the only one that I'm gonna say. It's like it's just a feeling, like it just really tickles that particular spot in my brain that's looking for like a 65 or 67 degree day.
Yeah.
With like a kiwi mystic, or no, not a kiwi mystic, excuse me, an orange mango carrot mystic, and just like being outside and like enjoying the sunshine. Like it just feels so sunny, and it's just good. It's just good. That's all I can say about it. It's just good.
It's funny you say it in that way, because Find a Way was that 98, the Love Movement. This is a moment when the group are the opposite of that from everything you hear, right? And you think this is so funny that crazy. This is weird how it's come across like this. Maybe that's the Dilla influence though. The Dilla, a lot of Dilla music has that, right? Which is a feeling. It's a feeling. Man. I don't know why it's in my 5. It's the way I feel, and it's quite hard to sometimes put words to that. And that's why Dilla's music is so incredibly magical, And then to have, probably this is one of the most perfect songs of them two on Dilla, I would have thought. There have been a lot, but Find a Way is probably one of the main gems, I think, there, if you're looking in that, just that little canon. So yeah, no, absolutely. Just from the conflict arose this amazing little gem of a track. Absolutely. And you know what? A lot of people cite it. I've seen Find a Way been cited in a lot of people's like favorite Tribe cuts. So I'm glad that we got time to talk about the Love Movement as well.
Yeah, me too.
So we've got, right. Okay. So SonRaw, description of a full 8 million stories. Sorry,
I got just a bit on Find a Way first.
Of course.
That one almost made my list. Definitely a single that I owned on wax. Mm-hmm. Definitely a single that I played over and over again as a teenager who was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a mix CD for this girl, and then she's totally gonna fall in love with me." And it did not work like at all.
No. Oh no!
But it's no, but I love that song. It's actually it's my favorite one off the Love Movement, so it's definitely nearly made my list. And it's like I feel a lot of Tribe Dilla songs. Dilla was trying to make a Tribe song because he must have had like this respect for the group, and like who wouldn't? But that's like the one song that feels like Tribe on a Dilla song, where he's like, "Let me invite you kind of into my world, and let's see." And it worked so well. And it's fun to listen to because it's almost got that R&B vibe. And they used to have like kind of these little anti-New Jack Swing, anti-R&B bars. And like now they're getting older, like Tip's 28 or whatever. It's like, all right, we could do a little R&B. Like maybe this isn't, some. And I mean, they had vocalists. They had Vinya Mojica. It's not like they were scared of singing or anything. But it was like just this overtly grown man, a Tribe Called Quest, which is maybe why people... Like some people don't like that era, but as time goes on, obviously, like it's great. Like it's just a fantastic song.
Yeah. No, I love that old
and
man
and that's my one single. It's definitely one of the lesser. It's definitely one of like the less. It was one of the smaller singles, but it's my favorite. Well, I don't know if it's my favorite single, but it's definitely one of my favorite songs.
That's interesting, because this then lends myself to ask a question about Stressed Out. Why Stressed Out is on SonRaw, it's in your 5, isn't it? It's in your 5, that one.
Yeah.
So like that like as well with them, like you said, they're adults now. They're older now. They are probably felt a bit more like old statesmen in 1996, right? And it's like weird that they felt like that, but they had been around for a while. So Stressed Out. Why did Stressed Out get in your 5?
Stressed Out and 8 Million Stories were like I almost like grouped those two together because it's a similar situation, but it's just those are songs that when I'm feeling bad about something in life make me feel better.
Yes.
And it's like a very simple reason, but there's a lot of rap music that I listen to is aggressive. Like I come from the Wu-Tang Mobb Deep school of hip hop. That's the stuff that I almost always listen to. But like when you're not feeling great, like bar like All That I Got Is You, or obviously there's plenty of songs, but Stressed Out is one of those songs where it's like, I've over the past few years, like, with COVID, it's like I've known people that are sick, or I've had like problems with like my living situation, or like I've had problems with my job, or like, my parents are getting older. It's the kind of song that I put on and I feel better about it. And a lot of the times, like for that kind of music, I might draw for R&B. I might draw for like a lot of Mary J. Blige or Erykah Badu. Like those are usually what I go to. But in hip hop, like I put on Stressed Out and I'm like, someone understands me. Someone understands what I'm going through, because like, they're not really talking about, they're talking about problems that like I might have. Like I don't have Jay-Z problems. I don't have Scarface problems. I don't have Ice Cube problems. That's not taking away from those situations. I relate to them in a different way.
Yeah.
But it's, with Stressed Out and with 8 Million Stories, they're just songs that really resonate with me. And I mean, for Stressed Out, there's also like some great Consequence verses. And looking back, like he added a little something to the group. I know it wasn't exactly what people wanted, but he kills that song. Dilla's on it with really great hard-hitting drums. I love what he did with there. I always wonder how much he did versus how much the rest of the group did.
Yeah.
Faith kills it. And there's that really cool, almost G-funky synth on the hook, which was like a new element that they were bringing in.
Yes.
And weirdly enough, I found out about this years later, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. There's like 3 Bjork remixes to this song.
Oh, really?
On like a CD single. It's like really more like 2.5, because 2 of them are almost the same.
Yeah.
But there's like weird beatless ambient song that samples like a Fife verse that was originally on the Ali Shaheed, Raphael Sadiq, not Ali Shaheed, remix. And then there's this weird noisy jazz version, and it's just so weird. Like I really would have liked to be, I don't know if they were in the studio together, probably not. They probably just sent it to Bjork. I just kind of wish I could have been a fly on the wall for the meeting of those artists, because like I'm a huge Bjork fan too, and that kind of like Tribe were so hip hop, but they also had that alternative fan base. So to kind of see like it's the same thing like with Tricky on Muggs, or like RZA remixing Bachelorette. Like I'm always kind of interested, because like the 90s had that really cool interplay between like electronic, alternative, and hip hop, where like no one felt like they were compromising, and that kind of went away in the early 2000s. And I always felt like I kind of missed that era the first time.
You'll never get better than Release Your Delph, the Prodigy remix.
Yeah. That whole, like there was all of these like really cool mixing of ideas. And then like the comment, like I feel new metal kind of ruined that for everything, because all the rock guys like, never touching rap again.
Right. There's like, like I think a lot of the younger kids are starting to get into like more electronic sounds, like like even forgetting the whole like club music obsession happening right now, which is great. Like I'm from Jersey. Jersey club is my life. I love that shit. But there's so many people that I know who are like really starting to dig more into like rock music and more into dig more into rock and dig more into electronic and like footwork. Like there's this really great album by this group High Tech that just came out last week that I love. Like I've been listening to nothing but this High Tech album for like the last like 4 days. Shit's crazy.
Nice. Shout out Jersey. We have, I think he's still living here, but Natus is out here now. And I like 10 years ago, we used to go to like so many raves that he would play around here. He showed a lot of love to Montreal. So that's
Wicked.
That's
Wicked.
beautiful.
Love that. Yeah. Love that about Stressed Out as well. Only thing I want to just compliment, like on Fife doing that, it's really, like you said, it's really quite brief, these moments, but when you watch the doc and you completely understand how much the medication and his family must have meant to him at that point, and he says like, lay my head on her breasts, sugar dumpling knows best. But you don't really hear that kind of, the monogamy of hip hop. You don't really hear monogamy in hip hop in 96, kind of thing. And even after, you didn't really hear it a lot. So I don't know. There's just this positivity in this conflict that we're going through at this point. Even then, you're like, oh shit, that rings a bit different now to me. So yeah, no, Stressed Out, absolutely. And I'm glad that you said it's something that can help you out. Because even recently, I've been listening to this song thinking, yeah, fuck man, this song really, really does land. So Dylan, you've got What God Lives Through, lyrics to go that we talked about. Find a Way, we've talked about. Black Spasmodic. Why this and not Space Program? No, but seriously, why this? Why this one?
Man, so like, you know, like it's a really nice showing for damn near everybody. Well, except for Busta. Busta's not on this song, but like I love the beat. It feels like a rickety public school bus. To me, I love how like off kilter and weird it is. Like even by Tribe standards, it's like one of their weirdest beats ever. It's like really like funky, like, you know, like tooth decay type smell, funky, and I like that about it. But the thing that really pushed this into like top 5 territory over something like Space Program or something like a Solid Wall of Sound is that like it's easily one of Q-Tip's best verses ever. It's one of his most energetic. It's one of his most like heartfelt, because like the whole verse is him relaying a message that Fife sent him from the grave. You know, like the whole verse is like, except for the first 2.5 bars, everything else is a quote from Fife. You know, like he like wrote out this whole thing, you know, just like even just the way it starts, like, my man said, my nigga be speaking to me. It's easy to explain, not through evil mediums, tarot cards, or Ouija games. Fucking like he says he speaks to me through chords and boards and even drum machines. He says, nigga, fuck rewards, keep repping Queens, and this just goes like it took me until today to realize that everything from fuck awards to the end of the verse when he says his name is a quote. And it's like, it's long. He's like damn near like yelling into the mic. You could tell, like, it took me re-listening to it today to realize that he probably recorded that after Fife passed away. Damn. And you can hear it. You can hear it in his vocal tone. You can hear it in his delivery. Like he's not mad, but he's like, it's the most. Tip prides himself on being so cool and so mellow, but this is when he kind of leaves that to the side for a minute and just he gets lost. Like you know when we're talking about spirituality, like he caught the spirit, like he was talking to the ancestors in that moment, and just kind of he blacked out. You know, like we talk about like blacking out. He blacked out. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he like didn't remember recording that verse. It's like really that shit punched me in the chest. It's so good. You know, because like usually to me, Fife has more of the standout verses in terms of like punchlines and like writing and delivery, but like Tip really you could tell he was like possessed by something. You know, it was really, really gorgeous. Amazing. And like I'm not huge on what Consequence brought to Tribe. He does good sometimes. He's completely unnecessary other times, but like he's so good on the hook. Like the hook's great. Fife's verse is great. Like once again, one of his more spirited verses. He definitely sounded really angry when he recorded it. And like the two of them don't get angry. The two of them don't get super emotional, like you were saying, Cam. It's like, you know, like it's like two of their most uninhibited verses ever. And like that energy is not typically associated with Tribe at all. So like to get that on their last album was very special. And trying to think of what else. I mean, yeah, that's just a special song.
You've convinced me, to be fair. Like, yeah, I am gonna have to go back and re-listen with those ears now. And I know it's such a like open wound song. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but it seems like a real open song. So
it's raw, definitely. Yeah. And then we're talking about really nice opening lines, but like who won it with the Trini Gladiator? Like that's up there for me with anything he's ever said. It's mostly in the delivery. It's just like, now who won it with the Trini Gladiator? Yeah. It's just like he's just on a rocket ship the whole time. Like it's just like that verse is just so the verses are great. It's fantastic song.
Love that.
It's definitely one of my favorites.
Well, man, this is just what a way to cap it. These 5 are just, I really, really love these 5 because it's going to make me go back listen. And that's, you know, and with them different ears, 8 million stories, the way you guys have put this out, absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Let me have a quick look at the live chat before we go. Fair play. I think we've timed this when the Succession finale is on in the UK, which is
Crazy.
probably why people have left. I watched it this morning,
Crazy.
so that was my least hip hop thing. I got up at 6 to watch the Succession finale. But yeah, so I think Aaron, big yourself up, man. He's still here. He's still wilding away in the chat. Fair play to you, mate. What's he say here? Excursions is another joint 5. Fair play to you. I remember that Nightmare song from Black Sheep was finished with Drez saying, I dreamt it was hard, but it's BPM, it was off the charts. Fair play, good pull there. What is another joint number 5? I think we've been hitting. Aaron's loving this. Description is all about the beat, the extended instrumental ending, 3 rules to be a good person, and I love the line, another man walked in their direction, bumped him a bit, excuses imperfections. I think that might be 8 Million Stories he's talking about, I think. But yeah, no, that's Aaron, you've been bringing it, man. Fair play to you, my bro. I'm just going to top this off then before we talk about anything you guys want to plug. I do have a long list of Tribe. If yours lands on here, please hit us up, crate808@gmail.com. Hit us up in the comments, all that stuff. These are the rest. I'm not going to go into them, but I'm just going to read out the songs from 17. So 16 was Can I Kick It? 17, The Space Program. God Lives Through at 18, although that probably has to go higher now after your spiel about it, Dylan. Look of Lucian, 19. Bonita Applebum at 20, love song about butts, let's go. Verses from the Abstract, 21. Get a Hold, 22. If the Papes Come, the remix, I think, at 23.
Underrated song. If the Papes Come is so good.
Yeah, so good. Butter, 24. Stressed Out, 25. I Left My Wallet in El Segundo at 26. Something about that song still really, really hits. I don't know why it's so low, but it's there again. Once Again at 27. The Jam at 28. Just
that almost made my list too, The Jam.
The beat, bro. The beat. Oof. Find a Way, 29. Hot Sex at 30. Bit more unbridled. Enjoyed that. After Hours at 31. Then I've got Keep It Rolling, 32. And Sucker N at 33. That's what I got, man. And push it along to finish it all off at 35. There you go. So yes,
good shit.
Yeah, man, had to. I wanted to. You remember Rumble in the Jungle, the one with the Fugees and John Forte? Do you remember that song? I listened back to that again. I can't put it in this, but I heard that again the other day. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how good this was. And Buddy obviously as well. There's some Tribe joints out there. But people, there you go. 3-hour marathon on Tribe Called Quest. Jesus Christ! Thank you so much, Dylan. Thank you, SonRaw. Where can we find you? What are you on at the moment? What tip are you on? What have you done that we can check out? SonRaw, hit us up, man. Where are you at and what are you doing?
You can find me on Twitter at SonRaw. Less than I used to be because it's somehow become even more of a hellhole than it was before. The big news is my album with 5 Steves, who's an MC out of Kingston, Jamaica, Redefined, should be dropping on Bandcamp July 11th with all DSPs shortly after. Boom. The first single, New Kingston, drops June 13th on all DSPs and Bandcamps. You'll both get an email from me about that.
Nice.
Sending you MP3s your way. We're super proud of it. And other than that, find me on Instagram at @SonRaw. I'm even posting on Reddit now to try and get over my Twitter fix. It's not working, but whatever. And yeah, just find me about I'm around.
Love that. Dylan?
Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere on every social imaginable at CineMasai, spelled CineMasai. It's got a what's the lower dash called? What can
Underscore.
I remember?
Oh, no.
Underscore. There we go. Thank you. It's CineMasai with an underscore on Twitter, and then just CineMasai everywhere else. I'm trying to think about the big things. For anybody who doesn't know, I also host the Real Notes podcast. We just put out our 100th episode, maybe about, I want to say 3-4 weeks ago.
Huge congrats, man.
Thank you. With Jaleel. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Jaleel, but he's fucking great. He's fantastic. I love him. So I do that. You can find Real Notes. That's REELNOTES. It's a podcast about rap and movies. I bring rappers and producers and people on, and we just talk about their favorite movies and they're just what inspires them, and it's about the intersection of rap and movies. I have a lot of fun with it. I'll just say it. I got an episode with Cisco Swank coming on Wednesday. He's a really cool jazz jazz rap dude. Speaking of, out of literally, like, he's like a full blown like prodigy. He's crazy. I think that's out on Wednesday. I got a bunch of other episodes coming soon. I'm not going to spoil any of them, but I got that. And as I was telling Cam off camera, I just spent the last 3 months of my life working on this huge piece about Backwoods Studios. I write over at Pitchfork. I'm a contributing writer over there, and literally from February 17th until May 18th, I was working on this Backwoods piece, and it just came out. I wrote a piece about the label, the history, like Woods' story, Anton's story. I tried to incorporate as many of the artists as I could. I'm incredibly proud of it. It might be one of the best things I've ever written. And the fact that Backwoods trusted me as much as they did, and Woods in particular, they let me in the studio, and like I got to do. It's all in the piece, but it's on Pitchfork. It's called How Billy Woods' Backwoods Studios Became the Best Indie Label in New York. So that's pretty much it, man.
I didn't want to give you. I knew you were going to shout it out yourself, so I didn't want to bring it up before. But that's a fucking great piece, bro. That was really, really dope. I read it the day it came out, and I was like, this is just. I mean, I met Billy. I opened for him a few months ago, but to have that more extended look into like how it came about, like, considering he doesn't share that much, it was a really dope piece, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. He doesn't trust very many people to get that close. And I've actually known him. We first met in 2018 when I tried to buy a copy of Paraffin off him, and he told me to come to his crib and just buy them. And I was like, I don't know why he would do that, but like, like we've been tight ever since, like as tight as one can be with Woods. But like, it's been the amount of trust that Woods and Anton Schlesinger, who's the president of the label, and Willie Green, who's the engineer, and Steel Tip Dove, whose studio I went to, like, they trusted me with a lot. And I don't take that for granted. That really means a lot. Since I've been a fan of Woods' since fucking Today I Wrote Nothing. So it's been almost 10 years, but it's like they trusted me in a way they didn't have to. And it means a lot because I've been trying to get this off the ground for like a year. I pitched it to Pitchfork a year ago, and then it took them a year to be like, yeah, we'll take it. And I was like, cool, let's go.
Took a Danny Brown feature off Maps to get you. Do you know what I mean? I'm not being like that, but I love the love they're getting. I love the love they're getting. I have to say, the last month or two, I've been very behind. I do need to check out that piece. I have it bookmarked. I know it's going to be solid gold, so I'm ready. I'm ready to go in. But yeah, no, that's amazing work, both of you. Absolutely amazing work. And yeah, man, just that Woods top 5 at some point, we will have to do that. Then this is all going to break down. I'm sure we're going to just, I don't know how we're going to do that. But yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's amazing. Before we go then, the last great piece of music you heard in like the last piece of music, could be old, could be new, just the last great piece of music you heard before talking to us, and it can't be Tribe. So Dylan, what you got?
So I mean, if we're gonna talk about today, the last great piece of music I heard was Return of the Mac. I heard it in a car while I was driving from somewhere earlier, but I want to say, like, in terms of stuff that I've like actually been like actively listening to, this High Tech album, it's a piece of like footwork and like electronic type shit. Like kind of, it's like a mix of footwork club and electronic. I can't remember exactly what it's called off the top of my head right now. I can look it up real fast.
Yeah, no worries, absolutely.
It's called Detwat, I think it DETWAT, however you pronounce that, with an accent over the E. It's tight. I like it a lot. I'm a big dance music guy. So that's kind of been the one that's the one. And then Maps, since we're talking about it, like Maps is insane. Like Woods manages to he's never plateaued. It's just better every time. I don't get it. But yeah. The High Tech one is crazy. If you're in that sort of mood.
Love that. SonRaw, what you got?
All right. Well, we already said Maps, so that one was pretty high up. You know what? The one album I want to shout out this year, because sometimes you don't know what you need, like you know what you want, but someone has to kind of surprise you. That JPEG Mafia, Danny Brown, Scaring the Hose is been living in my speakers like since it dropped. It's just like, and I'm shout out to Danny Brown because like he's apparently getting his situation together. And I've been listening to his podcast, and it's like, it's cool to see someone make that kind of art. Like Like I'm more into kind of deep Danny Brown, but to have a turn up album, it dropped right when I wanted it to. That's I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with that.
Love that.
To me, that's the best produced album of the year so far. Like Peggy's beats are incredible. Yeah. I get lost in there's like a 2-track one. I can't remember what it's called, but like the second half, I get lost in that one. It's like he made that all on an SP404 too. Yeah. I can't, man. He's too cold with it. The beats are great.
Love that. I think he's a Man City fan, by the way. I don't know if this means anything to you guys, but I saw him on IG the other day, Kevin De Bruyne top on. I was like, wait. JPEG's a Man City fan. So I work in football, so I need to somehow cross these two worlds together at work somehow for Bleacher Report. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'll try. But there we go.
Make it happen, bro.
I've got to try, haven't I? I've got to try. My last piece, it is top of the Crate 808 bangers list. People do go check that out. The playlist is on crate808.com. It's on Spotify. It's For the Evening by Young Morpheus, because from whence it came, that album has got some little Maps is Maps. Everyone knows Maps is Maps. Black Thought dropped some stuff that I've been really enjoying as well. Conway dropped a few little gems on his one, but there's something about that Young Morpheus record that's kind of seeping through for me a little bit at the moment. So yes, For the Evening from Young Morpheus. There we go. There's your Tribe, just slice of cake for the year. I don't know what more you would need. But yes, thank you guys. Let's see if anyone else... Oh, man, great episode, Aaron says. Thank you. Much love. Thank you, Aaron, for sticking with us. Jack P, great vibe,
Bless
as
you.
Always. Big up, everyone. Big up yourselves. Big up your mums. Big up your dads and your sisters and brothers and all that. And yes, we shall catch you soon. Peace.
Peace.
Love.